Hey everybody, welcome to a tier list, a season 1.5 tier list, and I'm joined with Alfie today, LG Alfie to be exact, the tank, the myth, the legend himself.
The
And
doctor?
yeah, the doctor. And Alfie, are you one above all right now, or
Yeah, I'm
are
one
you in a
above
tier?
all
Okay.
382 or something.
Damn, he lost count.
I know.
That's crazy. So we're gonna be making a tier list. I'm a celestial pleb. You guys know me. But we're gonna be making a tier list, and yeah, we're just gonna be putting from S, A, B, C, and F. We're gonna skip D because nobody gets D's. You either fail or you pass. There you go. Hopefully that's good logic, you know. But in any case, yeah, let's just go ahead and get this started. We're gonna go down a list here, and we're gonna rate every single character. Adam. Okay. Adam. I might get yelled at for doing this, but I think Adam is way better now than I thought he was. I actually thought Adam wasn't that good, to be honest. But I've been seeing him get picked up more, and I've actually been playing him myself a little bit as well. The only thing about Adam is I feel like he's not. I feel like he can only be picked in certain comps that have like a decent amount of healing. So like he's good as a triple healer, or he's good if he's like with another healer, like say Invis Woman or Luna, someone else that can also heal pretty well. And so I feel like he can't really get picked every single game because of that. So I feel like I'm gonna put him under B tier. And that would be my reasoning for it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's definitely both sides of the coin because if you do put him with the perfect comp, which right now there's a triple support comp in like high level competitive play where it's Adam Mantis, Starlord is
Yep.
important. So you run the triple res and Loki. And what teams are doing is they double Mantis ult. So like they'll have two Mantis ults. They won't use them stacked on top of each other, but they'll have both for tempo, and then they'll also have three different cocoons from those three characters, and they just get so much pressure. So I think if you actually have him in that level of comp, he might even be like an S tier character, but probably for your more ranked and like individually as a character, he is closer to that A or B tier. If you're playing him with just a Luna, he's more A. If you're playing him with like a Loki, then he's B or even C. Just really depends on your other healer.
Yeah. So in other words, you're just kind of saying like he needs at least 3 healers unless you have like one of those main healers to kind of
Yeah,
help carry
I
the
think I
heals.
think Luna's probably the best. I think if he has a Luna, he's A. If he has any other healer, he's B. If he has the triple support Starlord comp, then he's S tier. He's super goated with that comp.
Yeah, dude, I ran that the other day in ranked. Woo, baby, we smoked them. Uh, so okay. And so where would you like generalize him overall? Where would you put him overall?
Overall, B or A. I think I would go with A personally, but I think
Okay,
either tier fits him pretty well. Just depends on what your team is running, and that's how much value he'll get.
let's do it. Let's put him in A tier. See, I'm fine with this. I'm fine with an A tier as well as a B tier. Either or works. As long as it's not an S.
Yeah, he's not the best healer in the game, that's for sure.
Yeah,
We'll get there though. There's definitely some S tier healers.
absolutely. BP, he's an S tier healer. No, I'm just kidding. Man,
He does heal a lot.
I feel like BP is really annoying. There's a big difference, obviously, between good BPs and bad BPs. Bad ones you don't care about at all. But you can say that about any character in this game, especially any dive character. BP, I think I would also put in B tier, just because, from my experience, he's definitely effective at diving the backline. But if you're running him into like a triple healer comp or something like that, it can actually be really hard to just kill people. I mean, just as a diver in general, just definition of diving, I guess. So,
Right.
what would you say about him?
I think at the super high level, he's terrible. I
Okay.
do think in rank though, he's pretty solid. So I think the B tier fits for most of your games. And then as you start to get up, he starts to plummet down. Honestly, like in low ranks though, if you guys are coming from, I would say anywhere Grandmaster or below, he's maybe even like an S tier character if you have the mechanics on him because a lot of supports are maybe a little bit weaker mechanically, and you can easily just dash combo around. So I would say B tier is pretty solid. He's not as good as some other characters like the Starlord or the Psylocke at diving, but he is a nuisance. He will just get in there and piss people off. So for that part, he's really good.
Yeah, and I actually kind of like that description too. Like at lower ranks, he might just be like way better, because like the healers just don't know how to defend themselves against dive, or your DPS don't know how to turn around and defend the healers from
No
dying
one
either.
no one marks him on his angle, so if he just gets
Yeah.
to walk around the entire map for free and then find your back line without taking any poke, then yeah, he's a lot better.
Yeah, man-on-man coverage, what's that? So
That's not my
Um,
job.
yeah, exactly. Widow, oh my goodness, the Widow debate just keeps going on and on and on. In my last tier list, season 1, I had her under F tier, like, don't play her at all, but I actually have seen a lot of Widows recently, just making her seem really good, and if you do have Mantis with her, it's not a team up, but if you have Mantis with her and you're able to stim her, she actually does one shot to the head, and I believe we talked about this earlier, but that's only to characters with 250 HP and under, right, Alfie?
Yeah, it's somewhere between like 260 to 270. I don't remember the exact number 100%, but I remember shooting the Luna bot with a damage boost in practice just to test, and it does not one shot her to the head, but it gets her very, very low. Like someone could throw a feather at her and she'd die. So it's very close. It's very close.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't think she's F tier. I'm gonna put her under C tier because I do think she is actually like somewhat effective at this point in the game. And I have actually seen a lot of widows popping off recently, like I said. And if you have the Mantis team up, um, she'd probably still be C tier for me, but she does get better for sure.
Yeah, I think she's definitely C. She has very niche usage, but in that niche area, she's really good. So my team has actually ran the Widow on only Hall of the Jalia attack with our dive comp because we come from the top left side if you're attacking, and our dive will hit from like the top right, and we connect on the enemy high ground. And for like Hela or Namore, it's kind of in their fall off range and a little bit harder to hit. But Widow can just connect straight across that lane without any difficulty. And then for the rest of the map too, it's very long, open areas that are hard for those like other hit scan characters to play. So she's actually pretty good in those scenarios, but I do agree she's not good everywhere. You're not going to see her like on Dom very much or even most maps. And without a Mantis, I think she's terrible. I think she's F tier.
Really? Okay. Well, what about like Hawkeye? Like if Hawkeye's up, wouldn't Hawkeye just be a better widow?
Yeah, Hawkeye's just a better Widow at that point. I think they're both pretty bad because they're so easy to get on top of and just take out of the fight. Like the second someone starts pressuring you, you have to shoot them. You can't just be like Starlord and oh, okay, I'm gonna fly away and roll out of there and shoot somebody else.
Yeah. I will say like with Widow with like a dive comp, if you hit somebody and they're weak and then your dive just like takes advantage of that and like insta kills somebody, I feel like that's really, really nice.
Oh, for sure.
Captain America. Okay. Dude, after my experience the other day, this character might as well be in like his own fucking tier. But no, Captain America I feel like is actually pretty decent right now because he's just his ability to live, especially live on point. So like if you're talking about convoy, I think it's like less true for domination because it just doesn't matter if the enemy has point. But if you're talking about convoy and you're stalling point and Captain America's just jumping around and keeping point, and then all of a sudden he ults and then he can do that and stall for like literally 20 seconds. I think that's like a really, really big nuisance right now. And I think he actually does it super, super well. So I would actually put Captain America in like A tier. In fact, like to just back this up, when I was playing the other day, I had like 7 games in a row of Captain America, although 4 of them were one guy, but the others were somebody else. There's 7 games in a row of Captain America, and out of those like 7, 8 games that we played, like he won every single game. So either he was on my team or like they had a Captain America, and every single game was won. And I'm telling you right now, like Captain America was just putting in work in those games.
Yeah, he was just the hero. Mr.
He
Steve, the other Steve.
the hero we all needed.
Personally, I'm a captain believer. Like I want my dive player to learn captain because there's a lot of games where Venom gets banned. I do think Venom is just a better captain.
Yeah.
So like if we were to rate them against each other, you might as well just play Venom and then you play captain if Venom gets banned because they do basically the same thing. They're diving, attention trading. So for that reason, I think I maybe more put him closer to the B tier because I don't think Venom is like the top of the top in the like tank line. I do, however, think that Captain might be getting underplayed. So I respect the A placement as like a predictive thing because there are some very, very good Captain One tricks, Japanese Curry to mention one, but I know of like 7 or 8 players that are really good at the character that make him sometimes look better than Venom in ways. I just personally haven't seen that in the highest level competitive. And the only time Captain comes out is like you said for those stalls on Convoy. I personally switch to Captain
Yeah.
to stall the point or Thing, depending on which role I'm on. And if my other guy's already on Thing, then I'm going Captain. So he's really good for that. And then even Dom, like if you have the point, but it's a later fight and you just want to like get there quick to contest, like you just need a body there faster, I'll swap from Mag to Cap just to
Right.
get back there because we might, if we win or lose this fight, it could be the game, right? So if I'm 5 seconds late walking on Magneto, it's not like Magneto does that much more than Captain America. So yeah, I think B or A is pretty solid. Like I said, I just haven't seen a lot of them in the higher levels.
Okay, yeah, let's put him under B then. Just because of like maybe how we'll rate other tanks later on. But for Captain in particular, do you think he's like tankier than Venom? Like why would you prefer Venom over Captain? Is Venom doing more damage?
I would say Venom takes more attention for longer.
Okay.
So Captain is like a gnat in your ear. He can't really kill you if your healers are able to sustain through each other.
Yeah.
And Venom like can kill you. He can kill you. He has like 1700 HP if he uses his E properly, his shield. So, and then his ult, in my opinion, Venom ult is just better. They definitely have different uses because Captain, like you said, is really good for point stalling. It's almost another support ult.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's not as great as like being able to force a support ult, which Venom can do. Like Venom could
Yeah,
force
sure.
green for his Psylocke or his Starlord. He could force a Luna ult because what a lot of Venoms do now, and they've been learning this tech, is if you right click, you can shoot twice, I believe, and then ult and insta pop your ult, and the ult and the right click will hit at the exact same time, which nearly one shots people and can kill through support ults, depending on the
Really?
character. So yeah, and if you have like a Luna mirror going on, and you're like, oh, Luna damage boost me, damage boost me, it's basically like the Namore combo if you get good enough at it. Like it will just one shot the Luna, it will one shot anyone else in your eat and that was hit by your right click. So I think for that reason, he's a little bit better.
Dude, us support mains are about to be a dying breed. Everybody's just finding out all these one-shot combos.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's for you guys.
yeah, facts, right? Like, what's gonna happen? Let's buff Cloak and Dagger again. Why not? Speaking of Cloak and Dagger, let's go ahead and go over her. Cloak and Dagger. Let's see. So she did receive some nerfs. Actually, and she also received a buff. So her E got a buff. It used to be a 20% damage increase to the target she hits, and now it's about a 28% damage increase. So it got about an
Yeah,
8% buff. And her nerf was that, and I guess maybe you can kind of consider this a buff when you're against the mag, but her nerf is that her ult overall doesn't really last as long because the dashes are coming out faster now, and they also don't overlap either, like they used to before. And so for me personally, I actually Cloak and Dagger was like my highest played character season 0 and season 1 until Inviswoman came out. So I personally don't think Cloak and Dagger is nearly as good as she used to be, and I think I'm gonna just put her under the B tier. She used to be like an S tier character for me, for sure, but I think she's now like more about the B tier. She's definitely still gonna be a main healer. She's still gonna be able to heal a lot. Her ult's still gonna be good, and also her util, being able to blind and make people take increased damage, is still gonna be really good. But because of the ult nerfs, I feel like, and that was like her big trademark, I feel like that's definitely put her down to the B tier.
yeah. And for speaking on like the competitive side, the Magrock was definitely more of like a ranked issue or a miscommunication issue
Yeah.
because it's like on the competitive scene, I know because I played a lot of Mag and tried to rock these cloak players. Their Mag is also just looking to bubble them.
Yeah.
I think I want to say one ult out of 8 would kill, and it would always be like a hectic fight. So it is definitely just a hard nerf to her ultimate. Outside of maybe those ranked moments, you're like, oh my god, and then you dash fast and the mag misses you
Yeah.
in this current patch. So that is helpful. I do think into triple tank, into this goats comp that people have been pulling out, she becomes really strong. I would say around the A tier. Definitely not stronger than like a Luna character, of course, because she's just busted. But I do think the blind into the triple tank when there's just 3 meatballs standing in front of you, you blind them all, and your team just gets to spray and pray, doing 28% more damage. That is really good. Outside of that, though, I don't see a reason to pick her over other supports. She's not terrible in like an overall standpoint, but comparison syndrome kind of hurts her a lot. And for that, I'd probably put her C or B is definitely where I would go. B, I would say A against triple tank, and then C if there's solo tank. So I think B is definitely a good middle ground, depending on the tank composition they're running.
Okay, yeah, that works. And since I'm the support main and Alfie's the tank main here, we can have last call rights for those two roles. You know, like I could be like, well, no, she's S tier. And then for you, you could be like, well, Captain America's F tier, that kind of stuff. But okay, cool. Wait, sorry, do we have him under B or C? B, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
either or. He can like branch in between.
Yeah. Okay. We'll say B. We'll say B. We'll give Cap the benefit of the doubt.
The benefit of the
Let's go with Strange. I mean, no matter what nerf Strange got, he obviously used to be like in his own tier, to be honest with you, S for Strange. But he did get some nerfs over like the last couple patches, and he has since gone down a little bit, but he's still an extremely effective tank. I mean, you can still like definitely carry games with him. His ult's gonna be insane. He can still one shot, especially if, and I remember we were talking about this earlier, but if you rocket amp and you have a Strange walk into a support ult, he just can one shot everybody with his explosion, which is insane. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna choose between S and A. I kind of want to. I'm gonna go with A tier, but what are your thoughts?
I personally think A tier. I'd almost even say
Okay.
B.
Okay.
And the reason being comparison syndrome. Once again, Groot got a mega buff. His like wood walls, his shift now go 2 meters further, which means you can box people a lot easier. Mag got a buff that a lot of people didn't realize, where now if you perfectly hit your left click, right click, left click combo, you can one shot a 250 character, and there's pretty much nothing they can do about it. They buffed like 5 damage on it. So before he would do 240, and now he does exactly 250. So it is difficult, but that small little buff makes him just insane. I think comparison syndrome definitely knocks him down to A. Otherwise, Strange would be like an S tier for me.
Yeah, and I feel like when we're going over these tier lists, comparison syndrome is definitely it's the key thing, right? Because it's like if I'm putting Strange in A or an S, and we're like, oh, Groot's really good, let's put him in S too. Now it starts to not really make as much sense because it's like, well, Strange is also an S, but we just said like Groot's infinitely better than Strange.
Yeah,
So
it's like you should just pick Groot, like, and move him down.
Speaking of Groot, let's put him in S, I guess. I do think that like personally, Groot is top 2 tank in the game right now. In fact, I think he's probably the best tank in the game. I think Mag is still definitely up there. So I think it's like between him and Mag. What would your thoughts be?
Yeah, I think Groot is definitely up there. I do think Mag's just a smidge better, but the smidge is very slim. And the reason being is Mag is just the best character with every tank comp. So if you're running Strange, you're running Mag. If you're running Groot, you want to run Mag. If you're running Thing, guess what? You want to run Mag. Venom, you're running Mag. So with all those other tank lineups, Mag is always there. And that to me just tells me that he's the best. But I do think Groot is so good right now. Even into Wolf, it might be a tough one, but you can definitely manage the distance against Wolverine. And if you have a good invis player, she can just pull him off you, or a good Loki could throw a green under you. So it's really not that crazy of a hard counter, especially in those higher games when you can trust your teammates. Maybe if you're in like GM and you don't really trust your invis, like, okay, stay away from the Groot and maybe just play Thing or Mag into the Wolverine. But I think the Groot is still just strong against so many compositions. And like I said, those walls going 2 extra meters makes your approach against the enemy tank line insane. Like they have to respect so much space. Like they have to give you 18 meters of space now compared to 16 before, which is a lot of neutral zone that you're giving up for free.
Yeah, we're all definitely counting those meters in our head. No, but
Yeah.
you definitely feel that in the game for sure. But Alfie, Bucky's so broken right now. How could Groot possibly be good? No, we'll go for Bucky later.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. But Mag is we'll just have him in essence. We just kind of did a comparison, and
Yeah.
Mag is definitely up there and really good. So he's gonna be an S as well. Hawkeye. Honestly, like for me, Hawkeye. I'm not gonna say he feels like he felt in season 0 because in season 0 he was just so broken. I mean, it was ridiculous. But you can still one shot to the head, and I have pocketed some really good Hawkeyes as of late who have like absolutely just carried some games for me. Um, as long as of course they're getting the D-board healing special. But I'm gonna say but I know like by himself he can be kind of rough because it's really hard to deal with dive. Like he has the widow problem like you mentioned earlier. Um but I'm gonna go with A tier. I'm gonna go with A tier.
Okay, we're putting him up there, gassing him
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. It's like I know, and you can say this for like especially any DPS character. There's a big difference between someone that's completely ass at Hawkeye and someone that's completely good with him. It's the same thing with Iron Man, right? But like good Hawkeyes, I feel like at least in ranked can just like hard carry a game because you can one shot headshot people, right? It's like, oh, Luna's gonna ult. Oh, she's dead. She's no longer ulting, right? She had that all for 1 second. So like that's kind of like where my thought process is at. Like you can still one shot headshot, and it's like a little bit quicker than it was prior, or it's a little bit quicker than it was when he got his nerfs like a little bit back. So yeah, that's where we put him.
Yeah, I think for ranked, he's definitely a lot better.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he suffers from Black Panther syndrome, where it's like, all right, we're in bronze, he's S tier, and as we climb the rank, he goes down. I will say, if you're a great Hawkeye player, you can probably make him look just as good as some of these other hit scan DPS. But I think at the very highest level, he's F, and at
Ooh.
like GM, he's probably B. It's like an exponential fall off. So he doesn't immediately drop off or slowly decay. It's like right when you get to the celestial area, I think, is when people start realizing, well, if I don't peek him, he doesn't do anything. Or if we go dive, he just dies. So I think I would personally put him in C tier with Widow because he's just got that nicheness that can work, but a lot of the time is not going to, unless you're in the lower ranks.
I think you're giving us Celestials too much credit. You think we're not gonna peek a Hawkeye? You're wrong. I'm like, oh, he's over there, dead.
I'm wide
There goes the
swinging. I'm
hook.
wide swinging.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so C tier. Okay, okay. I think that's a fair assessment. We can do that. What makes him so at like say an eternity level, right, or like one above all? What makes him F is are people just not swinging him like at all? Like how are you like dealing with a Hawkeye
It's
at that
it's
level?
the duration in your swings.
Okay.
So let's just use Hela for example.
Hmm.
A Hela doesn't need you to wide swing to two shot you in the head and kill you. She just needs 1 second, right? But a Hawkeye needs to sit there and charge his left click by aiming at you for about what, a second to 2 seconds is the charge time I want to say on that. So if you're wide swinging him, you're going to die to a really good Hawkeye player. But as you get higher in the ranks, people play tighter corners. Like the off angles, no one's like wide swinging an angle or just walking out. Like let's use Midtown for example. You know how on attack you have those two high grounds you can go on,
Yep. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sometimes the off angle player will take the left high ground. Like let's just say a Hela. She's never gonna like swing out onto that boardwalk of the high ground. She's just gonna jiggle peek that one little doorway that's there. And as a Hawkeye, you're not gonna be able to one shot her because she's not gonna give you that 100 char unless you're aiming at the tank and then flicking your shot to the Hela. Which I mean, if you can do that consistently, you're the best player alive. Somebody should sign you because that is damn near. I mean, at that point though, you might as well just play Hela and aim at them if you can hit that kind of flick and then just kill them in 2 shots. So that would be my opinion on why it gets worse as it gets higher.
I was like, if you can do that, a spot on LG just opened up.
Like, hey, I'll leave, bro. They can play triple DPS. Just kill everything.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of Hela, I'm just gonna go ahead and put her in S tier. I don't know if you would agree with this, but I just think Hela's insane right now. Like you said, you can just easily two shot somebody. Her autos are hit scan. There's no more damage fall off. Is that a bug or was that intentional? Because some
So
people, yeah.
so people thought it was a bug. I actually thought it was a bug. And the
Okay.
reason is so she still has that seasonal bonus damage, right? I believe it's 15%, and it was
Yeah.
20 in the OG season. So on the website, it says she only does 70 damage per shot, but that does not include the seasonal bonus damage buff, which makes it, I believe, 84. So then you get a 168 damage headshot, which guess what? 2 shots to the head, and that's killing any squishy in the game. So it is not a bug. It is very much real, even with the fall off, by the way, because it's 80% now. So that 10% fall off damage made it so she can just 2-shot any, I believe, any squishy. I'm not 100% sure about the 275s, but they either die or get very low. 250s for sure. 2 shots to the head, and they're done for.
Wait, so you're saying there is fall off damage?
There is fall off, but it's not enough fall off. Like it's 80% at any range of the 84 damage. So it'll still 2-shot to the head. I believe for a 250 if you were to do the math, and maybe not for a 275. I know Helas can 2-shot each other from Antarctica to, New Mexico. Like they don't even have to see each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do agree with the S tier, if you can tell. She
Yeah,
is busted.
No, she's so good. Does and I actually want to ask this. Does Mantis Stim do anything for the Hela? I mean, besides obviously doing more damage, but like does it would it ensure a 2-shot to 275 characters when they
I'm not certain because it might already 2-shot 275.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure if it does or not. I don't think not a lot of teams are playing Mantis because they have a Hela. It would either be with that Adam comp that I mentioned with the triple support, or double support with Adam. Sometimes I saw in EU they were running like Luna Mantis. I believe our LG EU team was actually running a lot of Mantis because that player on the team really likes tempo ulting, and Mantis is the best for tempo ulting. So you could definitely still run it with the Hela. I just personally haven't seen it as much.
When you say tempo ulting, do you mean like a temporary ult or?
Tempo is in like to take aggression. So like most support ults you think of as like defensive, like they Starlord ulted, let me use my invis. But a tempo ult would be like, all right, we're walking forward into the neutral and Mantis ult, right? And you just go.
See, I just want to direct everybody. You guys know that Mantis guide I just came out with? That's exactly what I say in the Mantis guide. That's all I'm saying. If this guy's saying it, I said that in the Mantis guide. Maybe you guys should go check out the Mantis guide, all right? I saw a couple comments there. One guy was like, you should never use Mantis ult for aggression. I don't know. In any case, though, that's cool. Okay, so we're going to have Hela up in the S tier.
Yeah.
Hulk. Man, Hulk. I feel like he's not as effective this season. I mean, this guy was an absolute menace, especially with the Ironman team up, of course, for a while. But especially with the new addition of characters in the game, like the Thing, and all these other like different tanks you can play and all these other buffs that everybody else is getting, he just doesn't feel as effective. Like he's still good. I think he's still definitely a good character, but he's definitely not going to be an S tier for me. I think I'm going to put him in A tier.
Yeah, I mean, in the area that I've seen him a lot, like I have a Hulk player on my team, loves Hulk. It's probably his best character. And even him, he's like, this character just feels like a worse thing. And it is true. Like he just gets countered by so much in the game. Starlord can mark him out. Bucky can just threaten him with a hook. Namore is going to slow him down. Hela can just like 5-shot him as he's taking his angle. So that health nerf definitely took him down. But then also the Thing just existing as a character made him a lot worse because you just have a character that does what Hulk wants to do, but better, right? So for me personally, I think he's either C or B. And yeah, for all those reasons, mainly because of the Thing.
I'm going to put him in B tier. So I'll go with the B that you mentioned. And the reason why is because I also think the Hulk Iron Man team up isn't really as good as it used to be. And Iron Man himself, like, didn't he get a buff to his beam? Like his original
Yeah, they made
beam?
it a closer narrow. So I think they buffed it from 170 damage per second to 190 on his unit beam. And then with the Hulk team up, it only goes to 200 now rather than 220.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that whole Gamma team up is basically gone. So it defeats that purpose too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put him under the B tier then. I'm just gonna Johnny's an F tier character for me. Unless he has a Storm team up. I haven't been seeing it too much recently. I think mostly because Storm gets banned a lot. But whenever Storm and Johnny are both open, it honestly fries my games. And I think he's probably like a B tier character, but without Storm, I just think this character is bad. I don't fully understand his design, and the reason why is because his autos seem to be shotgun autos, but like he's a flying character, and I feel like when you think about flying characters, they want to like create a little bit of space and kind of take angles. And for his autos to be like more shotgun oriented, that to me doesn't really make any sense. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I think he's definitely got a weird design. From my DPS explaining it, he's basically just an anti-dive character.
Okay.
So you're never going to see this character on attack unless it's a one-trick player. I know Windex, the Venom player, actually started one trick in the character and makes it look like the best character in the game. So maybe we're throwing it a bit too low, but I also agree he is just bad most of the time. Even like my team was personally worried about the Storm Torch team up because we hadn't learned those characters right away because we had a few days off before. So we were just banning out Storm. But when we left it open, we have yet to play against more than one team that ran it one game where they Storm Torch comboed. And I haven't even seen it in ranked, like at all. So I'm not even sure like how good that team up makes him because I just haven't seen it. So maybe he does become like a B tier and A tier character. But I think, like you said, standalone, he is just terrible. If you're anti-diving, he's kind of okay, but you might as well just play like Punisher or Namore and whip out a shotgun or throw your squids down if you want
Right.
to play anti-dive.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so the few times I've seen it in ranked, every single time people go into all chat, "Oh, that combo is so broken." Every single time. I've probably seen it like 3 to 5 times. Every single time it's either my team or the enemy team goes into all chat and they're just like, "That combo is so broken because everybody's already dead." I mean, it lasts for like 10 seconds, it's insane, or
Yeah,
maybe even
but I mean,
longer.
it's also like the Groot Moonight combo, like, was the
Yeah.
combo broken? Sure, but is it broken because it's like the most OP thing in the game, or did they just use two alts and then you wasted a healer ult to like try and counter it, and you're like upset that your healer ult got canceled? That's kind of like the part that can make it feel worse. Is like if you know it's a one shot combo and you don't use anything, then they just use two alts and then you just come back and win the next fight. So
Yeah, I guess at that point it depends on the game type too, because I feel like if you're say attacking on convoy, right? And you get a team wipe, and even if they don't use alts, you're still pushing that convoy really, really far. And then all of a sudden,
yeah,
like you get it back up, you do it again. Now you're on the next checkpoint, with little resistance. So yeah, maybe it depends on the game type because domination it might not be worth it, like you said. And I will say, so the team up it doesn't really I don't think it adds anything to Torch. I think it actually just mostly stems what's her face Storm. So
yeah.
I don't even know if that would like make Torch like a B tier character. It's more like putting
Yeah, it's
Storm
more
from
like
like
he's just
yeah.
there to help. Like
Right,
he's
right.
just the
It
assistant.
it's more like putting Storm from like let's say Storm's A tier. It's more like putting Storm from like A to S tier, that kind of thing.
Right.
Um Speaking of an A to S tier character, let's go over Inviswoman. So Inviswoman is my favorite character, my favorite healer in the game. I have by far the most playtime on her. She's definitely my best character. So there's gonna be definitely some bias in this answer, but I actually personally think that Inviswoman is actually the best all-around support in the game right now. And the reason for that is because her healing output is insane. Like just with their autos themselves, if you hit the auto and then the returning auto, that's an 80 heal. And that's gonna be more than Cloak and Dagger's heal with their auto attacks. It's gonna be more than Luna's heal, even if she's left shifting. Unless she left shifts and has her snowflake on somebody, that'll actually like be more than 80. But it'll be more than Luna left shift. And Sue can obviously hit multiple allies with that. So she can like farm her charge up really fast. She can heal a lot. Um, on top of that, I think she has like a lot of other ways to support the team. She can disrupt plays by pushing Strange away. She can do things like pull people off height. I've had so many plays where like an enemy Punisher takes an angle, and all of a sudden I pull him off that angle, and now he's just dead. Or like the enemy Strange ports his team up on that convergence map is like Tokyo 2099.
Yeah,
And
Shinshibuya.
yeah, yeah, in that first point where he ports everybody up top, and then I just like pull 4 of them down, and then all of a sudden, like now they're just dead, and I just hard made a play for my team. So I think that she has like a lot of peel. She has a lot of setup. She has a lot of survivability, especially with her shield. Like you can actually block one shot ults with their shield if you play it correctly. Um, and she has a lot of healing. The only thing is, I think her ult is like it's still a really good ult, but I don't think it's as good as like say Luna's ult, or even like maybe Cloak and Dagger's ult, those kinds of ults. but I think overall she's like the best healer in the game. So I'm gonna put her under. I'm gonna put her under S tier. I'm gonna put her under S tier. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I totally agree. She's definitely the best all around. I think she loses a little bit to a few other healers. I won't spoil the tier list too soon, but I think you might have some guesses. You had some good guesses there, but I can totally agree. She's either A or S for me. If there was an A plus tier, I think I'd put her there.
Mhm.
So maybe a little bit leaning to the A tier just out of comparison syndrome. But honestly, like you said, the boop, crazy. Counters, strange. You can make sure you always live in your ult with your double jump if Mag's trying to ult you. Your ult is really good against like the Rocket Punisher combo because he can't see anyone
That's
inside
true.
of your ultimate. It's also good against the Groot combo. A lot of people like Groot Bucky combo. And if you disappear like right as the Groot ults, then the Bucky's got to like find you guys inside that ult. So it might stagger that combo out. There is a way to block Thing ult with her shield. There's a way, like all shields can kind of do it. If you guys have seen the Strange, you can jump up,
Oh, you got to
angle
aim
your
down.
shield to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with Invis, if you put your shield on someone and it's kind of like tucked in the ground because it's got that curvature to it, if you're like right inside that curvature, the bottom part of the shield will block the Thing ult. It's damn near impossible to do. And I think it's only happened 3 times since the Thing has ulted my team 150 times. But if you can get good at that, you might just be the GOAT. You know, it is really
That
good. So I think either A or S tier for me as well.
that explains so much because I had man, what was that map? It's another convergence map. It's the Black Panther one, or it's the Panther one. Um
Hollow the Jolly.
yeah. That map, I had a thing ult and I had like the shield on point and I did not get stunned behind it. And I was like trying to figure out like why did I get stunned, or like why didn't I get stunned? And because I knew it went through shields, but that would make so much more sense because I think it was like halfway in the ground. I'm gonna take a look at that clip after this now that you
Yeah,
mentioned
because
it.
it
Yeah.
ripples out. So if you're behind the shield, you'll still get hit because it's not really like protecting you. It's just like if you're right in that little zone where it's curling under your feet, then you won't hit you, which is kind of crazy. And it's the same way that the mag and the strange shield works, where it's
Yeah.
like you're putting your body under or above the shield.
That is insane. And just for a heads up for everybody else wondering this, when it comes to Hulk shield and Mag shield, those are gonna immune it because those are CC immune shields, right? So like if he tries to like stun you, those should immune it, right, Alfie? I'm not like making this
Yeah,
up.
yeah, those
Okay,
100%
okay.
immune it.
Whew, thank goodness.
Which also makes the same logic because they curl under your feet, right? Like if something is under your feet, then it'll block it. The Groot wall also blocks it for whatever reason. It
Oh,
doesn't go under the Groot wall. It just blocks the thing.
wait, really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So if you got
Okay.
like really good reaction time, throw up your big wall and it'll block it.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was just gonna say because those shields are like CC immune and like technically Strange Shield and all that like isn't CC immune. It's just kind of like blocking projectiles. So I just thought of like the thing all as just this like thing that kind of goes underground. It's not really like a projectile. That's kind of like the way I was thinking about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay, cool. So we'll keep her in S tier and then maybe we can just have like a for S tier maybe we can have like a thing where it's like a character that's like before that character in the same
Yeah,
role.
like before. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
in the
like
same
because
role.
she's definitely not worse than other characters. She might just get picked over like another 2 support lineup.
Right. Iron Fist. Speaking of characters that get picked, this guy does not. Um, well, I played. I mean, honestly, no, that's a lie. Iron Fist actually does get picked, and he is a little annoying right now. He also gives Luna some extra survivability into dive comps, which is super nice. So if you have like a team up with Luna and your Iron Fist, your Luna is actually like getting that extra ability, which allows her to heal herself and everybody around her, push enemies back, and also like do a little bit of damage to them. So she gets a little bit of self peel and self sustain from it, which is nice. But overall, I think like Iron Fist probably is a C tier character, but he can be like hard to kill, I guess, if you don't know how to deal with him. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my team personally, and I know a lot of other teams were trying Iron Fist out after the I want to say buff, but a lot of Iron Fist players call it a shift because he does different things now. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
actually read all the notes, but it seems like he got better at killing tanks and worse at killing squishies, so they made him closer to Wolverine.
Mhm.
And into the goats comp, he does okay, but like I said, there's other things that counter that. You got Starlord or Storm or Punisher with ammo that just do better, or even like Cloak is blind is better than killing tanks, or better at killing tanks than he is. So I do agree. I think he's a C tier character. From what we tried, he just doesn't do much of anything. He's kind of like a Captain America in the fact that he's a nuisance. So maybe if you were gonna run like solo dive and just kind of attention trade at their backline, he might be okay if you're gonna do it from like the DPS. So let's say you run like Strange Mag and then Hela, and then you just kind of attention trade as the Iron Fist, because like you said, he's really hard to kill. He just doesn't do a lot.
Right.
So if they're good supports, they might just ignore him, which is kind of the right thing to do. Like, oh, maybe just snowball him and then move 10 feet away. So I do think he's just kind of bad, in my opinion.
He's kind of like a mini Captain America. In fact, like if you had both those, yeah, that would be a really annoying team comp to run against. Like Iron Fist and Captain America running at your backline. It's like we can't kill these guys. You know, like I mean,
And you can't kill him, but if you just walk forward and kill the other four, then you'll be fine.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, cool. So, did you say C tier was appropriate,
Yeah, I,
or
I think I agree with C2 because he's not like
okay?
Human Torch levels of bad. He's more just like not great. But you could definitely pick him and make him work. Like there are some Iron Fist players that make him look fine if they get like a mag bubble, a snowflake, an amplifier, like a Wanda ult to distract for him, whatever you could throw his way to help him do something, and he does all right.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel so bad for Torch after you said that.
Poor
They'll
guy.
they'll buff you. Don't worry. In season 2, when we make another tier list, you're gonna be up here in A. I can see it.
I mean, or we're just wrong, and he's just the best character in the game, and everyone sucks at him.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. What was that other guy's name? Windex.
Yeah,
Windex. Is
no
also
Windex
just
his
wrong.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes it work every time, so I don't even know anymore.
Iron Man. I think Iron Man. I'm gonna put under B tier, and the reason why, the main reason is because I don't think Iron Man does anything more than like some other DPS. In fact, I think he probably does things worse, especially because he's a pain in the ass to heal as a healer. But the one thing Iron Man does have is a one-shot ult. So it's kind of like it's like a Magneto ult that you can kind of get off whenever you want. And I think that's really, really good into teams that are, especially like triple healer comps, but teams that are trying to go and play for their big healer ults like Luna ult or Cloak and Dagger, those kinds of characters. And so I think Iron Man can actually be really, really good into that and just kind of like lock that down. So that's why I'm going to put him under B tier.
Yeah, I personally think he's terrible,
Mm.
but I could definitely see the logic of the one shot. Most games that I've played against an Iron Man, if I'm Strange, he's dead. If we have a Starlord, he's dead. If we have a Punisher, he's dead. If there's a Hela, Namore, like there's so many characters that stop this guy from doing what he wants to do. And then the second he ults, he's like a beacon of hope screaming in the air, like, please shoot me or shield this off. So it's kind of like if you guys have ever played Dead by Daylight and you're just doing a generator or something. It's like that first tick. It's a skill check, but like 99% of the time, you're going to pass the skill check. 1% of the time, it'll get like a quadra kill and wipe your team. Personally, when we've ran Iron Man, this was before he got nerfed. What we would actually combo it with is with Strange ult. So I would just have my Iron Man get full pocketed, ult somewhere, and obviously what's their Strange going to want to do? Well, he's going to want to block it with his shield, right? Insta kills his shield, and then I go for my Strange ult because they have no shield. And I don't have to fly over, I could just ult the ground. So you could kind of combo it like that. But honestly, in most games that I've seen, his ult just gets canceled or blocked or eaten by a Magneto, or he dies in the air. Like so many different ways to shut him down. And then his neutral is just terrible. Like him just flying there with his little unibeam, moving around like 2 meters per second. The only time I would run this character is with Adam, because you could run the full gamma team up. I know it's only 10 damage per second, but it's still a little bit better. And then bubble him out, Atom bond him, and then hard beam their team. That's what people would run before that made him like semi-valuable. And I think it still could work. So for that reason, I could maybe see the C tier, but without that, I'd honestly personally say he's F tier.
Yeah, I kind of like do that, but with Invis Women, I just spam right click. So I'm just like, all right, like you're up in the air. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, you're just like shielding him. But
Yeah.
like at that point, you might as well just be doing that to a Storm, right?
Oh,
Because then
yeah,
she
yeah,
just
for
has
sure.
better neutral.
Yeah, but like that's the thing though. Like the problem with Storm, in my opinion, is that like her ult's good unless they have a healer ult. With like Iron Man, it's like, oh, his ult's good regardless, unless I guess they get shielded. So maybe we'll knock him down to C, and I'm probably gonna get roasted for putting him in B. That's all right. I'm used to it. But we'll knock him down to C tier. But I guess the thing holding him up is just the ult. Like if you're hitting those ults, you can actually just save your team a game. But if you're not, then I mean his base gets probably like F, to be honest.
Yeah,
So.
it's like, well, I mean, and to use the storm logic, it's like, yes, does storm ult typically get countered by a support ult? Sure, but when have you ever support ulted an Iron Man ult? You know, like,
Oh
oh, Iron
yeah,
Man's ulting, like, let me drop my invis ult right here and force it
yeah.
out. Like, it is good in the after effect, but Storm could like force an ult, which means someone else on your team could get a free ult because their support ult's down, or you get like a better support ult. So for that like comparison reason, I do think Storm ult's just like so much better.
That's fair. That's fair. My only counter to that though is I feel like Iron Man usually like waits for the support ult to drop from like somebody else, and then he like goes in for the kill. But like it
Yeah, yeah,
really
he like
is
he's the finishing blow
right. But
for
like
sure.
it really just depends. Like you're not unless I just like screw up and don't have my double jump. Like you're not killing me with Invis Woman as
Yeah,
Iron Man. I just double
and
jump
like if
away.
I have Strange Shield, I'm always gonna block it. Like if somebody dies, then they've jumped in front of the Strange Shield.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually blocked it with Sushio before too. That was nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Oof.
you got it, bro. I can see you
Yeah.
doing it.
Oh yeah, dude. I blocked I've like won us games before just blocking mag ult with Sue Shield. I'm like, if my Magneto's not gonna bubble my my healer for some reason, I'll do it myself. All right, let's see here. Jeff. Oh my god, the lovable shark everybody loves. Um, bad as a healer. So bad as a backline healer when he's in your backline. Very good into the enemy backline as honestly, like this character should just be rebranded as a DPS at this point. In my opinion, I think he is an actual like good DPS character. I don't think anybody can really 1v1 Jeff. If the Jeff is playing like to his fullest potential. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think anybody can. And yeah, so I mean, I think like low key, I think Jeff's under B tier as long as you're playing like flanking Jeff and you're just annoying and killing the enemy healers.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's the worst healer in the game by far. Like just as a sole healer, you need triple support with this character. Like
Yeah.
you are a DPS player playing a support class. That is how you should look at this character. You should look at him like an Iron Fist. Like you are not doing anything, but you are an absolute nuisance. And honestly, you probably have a better ult than Iron Fist most of the time. So I do think in that flank Jeff style, I kind of agree. He's a B tier. I think you need the Luna. If you don't have a Luna, he goes back to F tier. You're not playing flank Jeff without the Luna. You need that team up because the slow is huge. The
It
slow
is.
snowballs. And I think there's also a bug that everybody abuses where you just have infinite ammo with that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that makes him even better at doing his job. But if you are good at the flank Jeff style, I would agree with the B tier for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And just because I'm not a Jeff player, guys, sorry, I just don't play Jeff. But he obviously is getting a slow off Luna team up. Is he getting additional damage too, or just the slow?
I'm not actually certain. I think it's just a slow.
Okay,
It
it's
doesn't
kind of like
feel like it.
Namor.
If it is a little bit additional, it might only be like 5% more. Like nothing that feels too crazy.
Okay, yeah. He's still gonna like, what is it like 3 or 4, like 4 shots, like 250 HP character. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I can actually pull it up real quick. I got the hero chart here.
All I know is he's annoying.
Yeah, I know he's definitely annoying.
Like we can't deal with the Jeff. Everybody
His
shouting
right click does 25 per round and 40 per cast. So if you hit it directly, 65 damage.
Wow.
And then the team up.
That's more than I
Oh
thought.
yeah, so it is 5 extra damage. It does 30 projectile and then 40 spell field, so 70.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a 4-shot to what would that be? 275 characters if you have the Luna team up. And then
Yep.
it would not 4-shot 275 characters without the Luna team up. So yeah, you definitely want the Luna team up if you're playing flank Jeff, just to further that point.
Good. That's good that we've established that. Jeff players need Luna.
Yep. Gotta have the queen.
Namor does not need Luna though. I mean, like Namor wants Luna for sure, but like I've seen Namor's kind of pop off without Luna. But We'll talk about him later. Okay, cool. Loki. I think this character is really good. I personally don't play him that much. I played him a little bit in plat. So one story I tell people is like I was sick of getting dove in plat all the time, and like my DPS couldn't like never helped me because it's plat. And they're just like, "What's that?" Um, and so I just said screw it, and I stopped playing Luna, and I just started playing Loki, and I just kind of like carried myself out of like plat and diamond playing Loki, or mostly out of plat, and then I like went back to Luna and diamond. Um, but I think this character at a high level is actually really, really good. He gets played a lot. He's really hard to dive. His I believe it's his left shift is pretty much like a mini support ult that you can like have down for a few seconds, which is insane. His burst healing is really nice, although I wouldn't consider him to be a main healer at all because when you look at like the end game stats, his healing numbers aren't really the most, unless like I guess you're turning into Luna and you're getting a ton of healing like with your ult and all that kind of stuff. But I think for the most part, this character is really, really good, and I'm either gonna put him under A tier or S tier. I'm kind of deciding. What are your thoughts on him? I kind of feel like I want to put him under S tier right now.
Yeah, I would agree with this. And
Okay.
here's why I would say I think a lot of games you will see Invis get banned or Luna get banned. And what's the fallback healer? It's always going to be Loki. You pretty much always have a Loki. A lot of the time, you'll have a Loki even if neither of them are banned. Maybe you want the Invis for the Wolverine. You think they're going to run Wolf. You want to be able to push him off of your teammates or pull him, for example. Or for dive. She's really good in the dive as well. Luna struggles in the dive a lot of the time. And Loki does the same thing. Like, if you know they're going to run dive and you have Invis Loki backline, they're not running dive anymore. They'll probably switch off that pretty quick. Unless it's a really coordinated team. But if this is ranked we're talking about, they're not going to want to dive that backline. His green is, I want to say, a 20-second cooldown, and you're just immortal under it. So it counters Starlord ult, it counters Psylocke ult. They can't break the green when they're ulting. So they actually need teammates to do it. It's really good into Wolverine because if somebody gets pinned, you can throw a clone under that pinned teammate and green him. I know you guys have probably seen the combo where the Wolf gets a jump pack and flies away with one of your tanks across the map. And that actually happened to me in one of our recent games on Yggdrasil Path, the Loki
Really?
convoy map. Yeah, and my Loki threw a clone under me and greened me just as I landed. I took 0 damage. And I was on Groot. So I didn't even have like a fly or a bubble or anything. I just backed up and walled myself and it totally saved me. So, and the copy, super good. 95% of the time you're copying a support ult. 5% of the time though, I've seen some teams copy Storm and double Storm ult, especially if the other team is running like Rocket and single support, because you don't really need that second support ult to mirror. I've seen people copy Starlord and Starlord ult, not normally like stack it on top, but one Starlord to force, one Starlord to kill. So
Right.
you can do that in niche time, but a lot of the time you should be looking to still use your ult defensively.
Yeah, there's a lot of diversity with his ult. Like you can do a lot of different things with it. I can definitely say that. I hard agree. And also too, he's really good into characters like Psylocke too, because I mean, like you just put down a whole bunch of clones and like her ult gets stuck on those clones as well. Like she's hitting everything, including the clones. And obviously, as we all know, the more people you have in a Psylocke ult, the easier it is to live through a Psylocke ult because she's trying to hit more things.
Yeah, stand
Uh,
in the ult, boys. Stand in the ult.
Sanio, unless you're me, I get to jump out. I'm the healer.
Yeah, you can leave. You can
but
just heal me through it if I'm tanking it for you. So
yeah,
no big
exactly.
deal.
Yeah. Okay, like, and we got Luna now too. I'm gonna put Luna under S tier, and I think Luna base kit is like an A tier, but I think what makes Luna S tier for me is her team ups, and I think I sort of talked about this, or we even talked about this a little bit on the podcast that we did, but and I'll have that link in the description if you guys haven't seen that yet. It's pretty good. But with Luna, she has team ups with Jeff, as we talked about, and with Namor. And she makes Namor way more effective. She obviously makes Jeff way more effective, as we just recently stated. And so I think Luna, like, and she also has a team up with Ironfist that makes her survive more. I think she's just like overall really good when she has those team ups. She's good without those team ups too, but I think like her team ups are what really kind of put her over the top. And her ult, of course. Like everybody knows Luna ult's like the best support ult in the game. We all know that it's been like that forever. But I think like her team ups for me are what kind of like put her into that highest tier category.
Yeah, I totally agree. The team ups definitely help. The Namor one specifically, because most of the time, if you don't have Luna, no one plays Namor unless they're like oh, I want to play Namore this game just for fun. But it's
Right, right.
normally like, all right, we're playing Luna, we play Namore. In a competitive game, if Luna and Namore are open, 90% of the time, Luna and Namor are getting picked. So
Yeah.
that just speaks to the multitudes of that. I would say definitely S tier character and probably the best healer in the game, unfortunately, still. This is mainly because her ultimate is dynamic, right? So Invis ult, static, right? Where you place
That's
it
true.
is where it is. So if people are able to force it off point or you want a tempo with it, you have to plan a lot ahead. But with Luna ult, you can both use it to counter an ultimate and then tempo with, right? So Starlord could ult your team. You could be super far away from the enemy team or kind of in a neutral, counter the Starlord ult, and then tempo with it. So it's basically a Mantis ult and an Invis ult merged together that last basically the combined duration. Invis ult is what, 8 seconds, I believe, and then Mantis is 6, and then you've got Luna where it's just 12, and she's dynamically moving the whole time. So
Mantis is also 8, by the way. I'm pretty sure it lasts the same length as Invis does.
is it okay? So yeah, it's
Yeah.
like so not merged, but still 4 seconds better than both support ults. And then if you also have a Loki, guess what? You have two Luna ults now. So that's why a lot of the time you'll always see Loki and Luna or Invis Loki or Invis Luna sometimes if you're worried about like a Wolverine or if you really want to counter dive. Invis is super good in the counter dive because you can just, or as a counter dive character, sorry, because you can pull the Venom in. Like, oh, I'm looking for my grab. Oh, I'm pulled. And then you kill him.
Yeah, and if you accidentally double Luna because you have a Loki on your team, which I've done in the past, one of them can just go damage stance, so you're still getting some
Yeah.
value out of it.
If you
There you
double
go.
Invis ult, there's just two lapped abilities that do the exact same thing. But yeah, you
Yeah.
can definitely mitigate some of the loss you have with your sadness of double support ulting.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say that no doubt in my mind, Luna Ult's the best support ult in the game, hands down. In fact, probably the best ult in the game, to be honest. But the one thing I will say about Luna Ult in that even though it's not static, which is like way better, thing about Invis ult is that it actually like goes through line of sight. So like one thing I say is like Luna ult respects line of sight. So if like you Groot wall a Luna, even though for some reason the animation of the Luna ult is like under the Groot wall, you're actually not getting healed on that side of the Groot wall. And the same thing is true for Strange Shield as well. Like I've seen, a few
Yep.
Stranges or Magneto, for example, like if they stun somebody, the enemy Luna ults to protect their ally, they'll just separate the Luna from their ally. And they'll just like Strange Shield, and then the enemy team can actually kill because they're actually not getting the benefit of Luna ult, which is really
Yeah, that
interesting.
is definitely one of the
So
counters to the ultimate. It doesn't happen as much as I wish it would happen because the Luna is just so quick in it. So a lot of
yeah.
Lunas will recognize like, oh, he's getting shielded off. Let me just run through this shield. It is really good, however, if it's like you said, used to save somebody. Like let's say you strange ult a Groot or somebody with a lot of HP and you get him down to 200, 300 HP. You see that Luna ult coming from 5 meters away or something, and you pull up the shield so that way it won't heal until she gets there. So there are definitely scenarios where that has happened. It's even happened to me a couple times, and I've tried to do it and it's worked a couple times against other players. So yeah, if you can do that, definitely try and do that. I would say Groot's probably the easiest one to do
Oh
it with
yeah,
because
definitely.
you can just like Fortnite box her in. Like, all right, I cranked 90s on her. She's stuck now. We can kill their tanks.
Yeah, 100%. But that is like the one thing I like about Invis ult a little bit more than Luna ult. Not saying it's better than Luna ult. Luna ult's like 100% better than Invis ult for sure. But like that is the one thing I like about her ult a little bit more is the fact that it's like whether it's Strange is shielding or Groot's putting a wall in, I'm getting all this healing in the circle regardless, which is
Yeah,
nice.
like it's the same thing with Cloak All. Like if you're just standing on it or
Yeah.
anywhere nearby, you're getting healed.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, but damn, so you think she's the best healer in the game, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, I can get past it.
If
Magic.
this is very close, that's like a 1%. It's just like
Uh,
right there.
yeah, thanks for making me feel better. Uh, okay, so Magic, super good character, I think, right now. Very, very good DPS. Especially when she unleashes Dark Child and there is no healer ult on the field. It's actually like she just like becomes one of the most deadly characters in the game. I actually think Magic is an S tier character right now. And even too, I think Dark Child lasts for 12 seconds, I want to say, which is the length of a Luna ult. But more than the length of a Invis ult, an Invis ult, or a Mantis ult. as well. So I think that's something good to keep in mind. But yeah, no, I think with her ult, she's insane. And even without her ult, like I've seen Magic's just kind of like tear apart the battlefield, and just be really, really good. So I'm gonna put it under S tier.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think she's a little bit lower. Like
Mhm.
I said, if there was an A plus tier, I think she goes there. I would personally put her in A because there's DPS lineups that you want to run more than you want to run Magic with them. But yeah, I did actually just confirm it is 12 seconds with her ult. So it does last the whole duration of Luna ult. So if you're using it even a couple seconds after the Luna ult, like let's say your Starlord forces a Luna ult, you Luna ult mirror, you could like pop it within that and start like slicing and dicing and still have Magic ult when their Luna ult runs out. So it is really strong. And they actually just buffed the energy cost on it. It was 3,700, now it's 34. So you're getting it
Wow.
like 10% quicker, I believe is what that would be. Or like 9 or something. But yeah, overall, she's a really solid DPS. If you can learn her and have her in your hero pool, insane.
Is she actually before I get to that question, she also one shots through healer ults too. Like I've actually been one shot by a magic a couple times as Luna ulting. Um I don't know if that was my fault or if the magic was just cracked, but it's happened a couple times, especially with Rocket Amplifier. I don't know if she can actually. I think one of my friends tested this and he confirmed, but I have to like reconfirm. I don't know if she can actually one shot with her charged up sword with a rocket amplifier, but I think it comes like pretty close. And if you just kind of say like focus the
Yeah,
Luna
it's
and
like
she hits that,
40%. There is like a one shot combo that's like an instant hit. I don't know if you saw
yeah,
like
yeah.
the animation cancel
I've
thing
been
that
hit
people
by it
were like,
before. Yeah,
yeah. So that one is really good and it can kill through support, especially if you're ulting. Like it's not easy to do, and it'll probably only happen like 20% of the time, but it's definitely possible. And if you're already using the ult to try and force a support ult out early, you might as well try and kill through it because what else are you gonna do? Just stand there and smack the air? Like so
yeah, that's
it's
true.
it being an option to kill through. And like you said, if there is a rocket, a lot of time there probably won't be a rocket unless you have a rocket one trick player on your team. But hey, if he throws down that Flarkin amplifier when you're going in, it makes it even easier to one shot combo, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I want to ask is she getting played a lot right now? When it comes to comp at all? Like, are you seeing her
For
in
comp,
scrims?
I would say she's more of like the AT character, A tier character, because
Okay.
she's a little bit worse, but still really strong. It's just comparison. So there's other characters that just do what she wants to do a little bit better, and there's other DPS lineups that you want to run, and some of which counter her as a character. Like she can get marked out in her angle pretty heavily. She like in high level play, she's not a flanker. She's basically just a brute minion that you send at people, and like, all right, hit that Groot right there, and you Magneto bubble her in, and she hits the Groot and does like 60% of his HP and you just follow up off that. But then that's like it's a hit. So you hit with it and then you pull. She doesn't have the greatest neutral like a character Hela or Namore or something where they're just constantly applying damage, constantly poking players. She's a very like cooldown centric character, kind of like Venom is, where it's all right. I've made my hit. I've used my three cooldowns. Now I have to wait 5 to 10 seconds to do it. So that's why she's a little bit worse
Okay.
because the neutral is just a little bit worse.
All right. So we'll, for the sake of comp as well, we'll put her in A tier then. Um, Mantis. I think Mantis overall is a pretty solid character right now. Although, like, talk about comparisons, you're not really picking her over Invis. You're not really picking her over Luna if those characters are up. I think she is good into a triple healer comp. So if like you want to run like a Luna Invis or like an Invis Adam, you can run Mantis as well. Luna Adam Mantis, all great comps. Um, but as like a healer and like a double healer comp, she just doesn't really feel like she makes the cut for me right now, and so she has like more niche, I guess like opportunities. She has less opportunities in which she can be picked. So I'm gonna put her under. I feel like Adam is actually better than her. I'm gonna put her under B tier. I'm gonna put her under B tier.
Yeah, I could agree with both A or B. Um, I would personally say A with the clause of you pick it with Adam, and that is the only time you pick it.
Because of the res.
If you're loading into the game and there's no one selected a hero on your team, and you just hover this character and select it regardless of team comp, B tier, maybe even C tier character in some examples if you don't have like someone to walk around with. But I think she's kind of undervalued now, in my opinion. The tempo ult, like I said, that the LGEU team was running was really good. It does look pretty bad with just Adam, so I do agree. It's like you want triple support when you're running her, ideally. Not necessarily as much if you're running like Luna Mantis, but like I said, you pretty much always want to run it with Adam. I think Adam Mantis Loki is my favorite triple support combo right now because the Loki can just copy the Mantis, and then you have two ults that are really good for tempo and pressure, and then you have an Adam res for like a full reset when you get wiped. So I think personally, I would put her in A tier if you're planning to play it with a comp, and then B tier if you're not and you just want to pick the character.
Okay, so we'll leave it in B tier, and then again, playing with a comp, A tier character for sure between the two. Mr. Fantastic, leader of
Reed
the
Richards
Fantastic
himself.
Four. Yep, here he is. I need a beard like him. I just gotta like grow it out, you know, like spend like maybe 2 years. I don't think I could ever get to this beard level though. It's too clean. Um, I this character's kind of weird because on one hand, I feel like he can be like kind of ass, but on another hand, I feel like he can be pretty decent. Obviously, just speaking from like a ranked perspective, he obviously feels like a another tank, like sort of like a mixture between a tank and the DPS. I think that's what he was made for. Um, but he doesn't really fit most comps, in my opinion. There's definitely some really good comps with him, but he doesn't really feel like he fits most comps. So I think I'll put him under. I'm either B or C for me. I think I'm gonna put him under B tier for the most part.
Yeah, I think I would agree with the comp thing for sure. If you're just picking him, just to pick him, he's probably F. I think overall he's C.
Okay.
My team personally used to run him a little
Mm.
bit. We'd run Spider Islands, and we would run Magic, Strange, ideally Groot, but at the time we weren't playing a lot of Groot. And what you would do is you'd like wall somebody off to separate. The Fantastic would double pack Magic. If you guys come from Overwatch, it'd be like Brigitte, where you just give the character a bunch of heals right away. And the double pack gives her 150 overhealth, plus the overhealth she gets from doing damage with her abilities. So it was basically like a Magic pocket comp where we just gave Magic all the resources in the world. And it kind of works. It's solid brawl. But that comp honestly started to fall off and already had its counters against double poke. Like if they're running Hela Storm, how do you get them? You know, you're running
Right, right.
Mr. Fantastic Magic double tank. So you're just hoping like your Strange gets up there and fights everyone by himself outside of the grounded targets. So for me, I think he's C tier. I think honestly, he's fallen off a little bit since like people have realized, oh, we can just play another real third tank. Like just play Mag Groot thing, and then you just have three actual tanks rather than one character that's sometimes a tank. So
That's true.
that's my opinion of him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I agree with that. I can't speak on the what you guys did in scrims, but I can agree with that for sure. um, Moon Knight. Moon Knight's an interesting one because I feel like he's actually a little undervalued right now. So, I believe his ult got nerfed a little bit, and also got sort of restated because there was a bug, right? That it was like doing double the damage. I think it was supposed to be like base 75 per hit, but it was doing 150. And now I think isn't it like 150 per hit now? Like they just
It's
kind of
150 per hit, but they removed the damage you would take while just being in it, or like being in the center, I believe. So it used to be like 150 damage per one of the onks hitting you, and then I think it did like 25 per second or something of you just being in the center of the ultimate.
Oh, okay. And so they
So it
removed
it
that.
used to do a lot. Yeah, that part just
Okay.
gone entirely. This thing, honestly, his ult just doesn't kill anymore.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
kind of his issue.
So like I think with Moon Knight, you definitely need, and we talked about this earlier a little bit, but you definitely need one of those characters like Groot, for example, to combo your ult with. But I think if you do have, say, that Groot, I'm pretty sure it still kills through healer ults as long as they're sitting inside the ult for like 3 seconds. I think it still does kill through healer ults.
I'm
And
honestly not
so
certain because since the nerf, he has not
I
been picked one time in games that I've seen.
yeah,
I haven't even seen him in ranked at all.
well, so I've actually had him a little bit in ranked, and I've played a little bit against him, and I was going against the Groot comp, and like literally just this past week, I went against him like maybe once or twice, so definitely not too often, but I'm pretty sure we're all still just dying to it. Like I can like if Moon Knight ults, I can pop a Luna ult for like the burst of HP and kind of like sustain my team kind of through it as long as we move out within like a second or something like that.
Right.
so I can like heal through all that damage. But if we're just sitting in it, I'm pretty sure it still kills. So it just takes a little bit more time. So um, Groot with Moon Knight, I think, still makes him like a really good character because he is kind of countering those ults, especially because if you Groot ult, even if Luna ults, like she's still stuck in the Groot ult, which I don't know if it's intended or not because she is CC immune, but if she ults after Groot ults her, she's like CC'd. So I don't know if that's
Yeah,
intended.
it's a weird tether mechanic. I know what you're talking about. It works with like mag ult too. Like if you mag ult as the Groot's throwing it out, you're not going to get tethered. If you mag ult right as it's trying to pull you in, you actually get your ult canceled and put to 50. And if you mag ult afterwards, you're totally fine. So yeah, there's some weird mechanics when it comes to Groot ult and like how it pulls.
Bad coding, bad coding. No, no. But so I think like alone, I think Moon Knight's probably a C tier character. But I think if you do have the Groot team up or like any team up that's going to be able to keep people in place and keep people in his ult, I actually think this character does go up to A tier. So I'll just put him under C tier. But as long as we all heard the explanation, he can be A tier.
Yeah, I think the issue with him now is before his ult could just be used alone, right? Before you could dump that thing out, you'd farm it really quick, you had pretty decent neutral. Now it's like you need the combo, like you have to. Think of it like Bucky ult, right? Like Bucky can combo with something, but he could also just rip his ultimate and execute somebody,
Right.
right? Moon Knight no longer has that option. For that reason, I think he's just F tier because his neutral just isn't. It's not great. Like you're never gonna Moon Knight 1v1 a Hela. You're never gonna beat a Magik. You're not gonna beat a Namore. You're not gonna beat these very strong characters in a 1v1. So you're typically gonna get pushed off your angle that you're trying to hold to get these like bounces around because you have to take some kind of angle on this character. You can't just be like sitting main and shooting at a tank shield the entire round. You have to be like on ambulance on Midtown, for example, or flying on the height to the left side of the first point. Like these off angles that could be very easily contested by better characters. So, for my opinion, he's F tier. I think with the Groot combo, he's like C, maybe low B, but I don't know. There's not really a reason to pick him over other characters, even like worse characters, in my opinion.
Yeah, I will say one other thing about him that I failed to mention is that he does still get his ult up really, really fast. I've played against a couple Moon Knights and with a couple Moon Knights in the past like week or two. And one game, I remember the enemy Moon Knight got his ult up. I don't know if this is like our fault, but he got his ult up within 30 seconds of the round starting. I was like, is this guy cheating? It was like a convergence map, and they just ulted like literally like because was it start at like 4 minutes? Convergence, you have like 4 minutes,
Yeah,
right?
4 minutes.
And
Yeah.
like literally at like 3:31 or something like that, Moon Knight was ulting. I was like, what is
The
going on right now?
moon.
Yeah, I'm like, huh? So I think the speed at which he gets his ult too should also play like a role in where he's rated, and I think like he can actually get his ult up really really fast, and so like create even if it's just like a zoning space, right? Like even if you're saying like let me separate this fight real quick, we know that we can't walk through the ult, so if I place an ult between like the healers and the tanks, and it's like a big enough space, we might be able to like kill their tanks and kill their front line while the ult's going off if the healer's like trapped all the way back here. So you can still like play him like that, but I agree with
Yeah.
you for the most part. I think like he's just not gonna be better than other DPSs right now for sure. Like other
Yeah,
DPSs are gonna be way better.
I think the most like the problematic thing with that as a pro for him is like, oh, he farms his ult fast. Is like, yes, he does, right? But if you're using it as like a zoning ult, you know, like it's never really gonna force a healer ult like a
Right.
Starlord or a Psylocke or a Storm, as aforementioned, and it's not gonna kill through or like really kill anyone unless they're already weak. And at that point, you could just shoot them. You know, like if it's gonna kill through, it'll
Mhm.
probably just be a shot. So and in these higher level games where people mark their angles or like, oh, there's a Moon Knight like top right of Hollow to Jolly that's shooting down at us, like maybe we shouldn't six stack down main and maybe we send like our Hela on the off angle to two tap him in the head. So I think as it gets like as people start realizing to mark him off these angles and not just let him sit there, his ult gets farmed a lot slower
Yeah.
in those games.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Namor. Speaking of a DPS, this character is way better than Moon Knight. And I know I said earlier that You can pick him with or without Luna. So obviously with Luna, he's way better, infinitely better. It's like the old Iron Man and Hulk Gamma team up, right? But I still think he still has some play even by himself. Like he still does decent damage. He still can put out 2 turrets. And his ult still like is one shot with Rocket Amp or with even without Rocket Amp if you hit him, I guess, in the dead center. So Namor for me goes into S tier. I think Namor is just really, really good right now. I'd say he's with the Luna team up. I think he's better than Hela. Without the Luna team up, maybe it's like close, right? I feel like they do 2 different things. Namor can flank, but he can also protect against the flank or protect against the dive. And then Hela is just kind of like I can 2-shot you from wherever I want to 2-shot you from. so
Yeah.
but the big thing I think for me is that Namor actually has a 1-shot ult, and again, if you combo say with Groot, or you put up the amplifier, the rocket amplifier, or you even like have Luna, go into purple stance while you're ulting, so he gets that 40% damage boost, which is the same boost that a rocket amplifier gives. By the way, they're both 40%. He's still one-shotting people, which is crazy. So in fact, I think actually Namor for me would be better than Hela because of that. And real quick, it's a little ironic, I guess, but it's kind of funny that Luna has a team up with Namor because Luna, when it comes to healers, can't really protect herself that well as compared to like other healers. Whereas with like Namor, it's like he's made to protect healers, or like he's made to counter dive, right? Like whenever somebody wants to
Right.
counter dive, they think about Namor, that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of like a little funny, a little ironic that you get the team up and then like now Luna's protected. She's like a princess at this point, you know?
Yeah. Like, all right,
Um,
I'm gonna give that guy a turret. Like,
yeah, Namor's the prince, right? But yeah, where would you place him?
yeah. I mean, with Luna, probably the best DPS in the game. Might only fall to Hela. You're always going to see this character. If Luna's open, you're playing Namor. Like you just have to. If you're not, you're going to lose the game. Like it is that level character. I think for that sense, it's like better than Hela, but Hela does do things better. She will win a lot of duels. She will be able to 2-shot headshot. So if you're better at aiming, probably want to lean a little bit towards Hela. But if you're smarter with your ultimate usage, or you like are more looking for team play and winning team fights, then Namor is a little bit better. Both characters do basically the same thing of taking off angles during the mid fight. I would say Hela typically takes it a little bit more pre-fight, and Namor's like, all right, the fight is broken out. Now I'm going to swing a little bit wide. Because if you take an angle pre-fight, you get your turrets knocked out. So that's the playstyle you want to take with him is like, let's say you're walking on Clintar, Hela's going to flank all the way around to the right, potentially, and look for those angles wide, whereas Namore's going to keep it tight for a while, and then maybe he'll wrap around once his tanks are kind of built up to the point. So I
Yeah.
think with the Luna S tier, without it, honestly, I do not see Namor played without the Luna ever in any of our competitive games. We ban out Luna a lot, and Namor just doesn't get picked because at
That's true.
that point, Tela is just better. So without it, I would honestly say he's even like a B tier character, but still very pickable. Just there's not really a reason to without the Luna team up, in my opinion.
Yeah, just not nearly as good. I could definitely see that. I can definitely see that. Um, yeah. I guess that's all we have to say about Namor. I don't really have anything to add on to that. I think you're pretty spot on. Like he's still pickable without Luna, but like he's just infinitely better with Luna is pretty much the general case. Peny. Okay, Peny I think is good in like literally one situation, and that's if the enemy just has a lot of dive. Peny can actually be really, really helpful and really beneficial to your healers or to your backline to help counter the dive, to help kill the dive. But besides that, I don't ever really see Peny get played. I think Penny's gonna be an F tier. I also think Peny. Honestly, I know Penny's a tank, but like Penny's so easy to kill. I don't know what it is. Like she's just so easy to kill. So
Yeah,
I don't
she
know.
just falls right over
I,
with
I
any
think
character in the game.
I think it's because like she has a really big hitbox. She's kind of like Groot because like Groot's also really easy to hit. But like Groot also has his like walls, right? And Groot also has probably more health than Penny does. But yeah, the only time I really see Penny get played or think it's like appropriate to play Penny is if the enemy is running like a ton of dive and it's like, okay, I have to protect my healers. But I feel like too, like if you kind of go to that extent, you're forcing a tank to play in the back line. Maybe you've already lost. Uh,
Yeah, there's
but
not a lot of reason to pick this character. Like you said, sometimes if the run and dive, it can feel good. It's okay in the goats meta. Like I've seen teams run or try to run like Mag Groot Penny, and do the Spider Island spawn hold where they just sit right by the bell tower.
Yeah.
And it's okay, but since things release, he's kind of knocked down these tanks that were mediocre to even worse categories. Because why would you play Goats with Penny when you could play Goats with Thing? Like he has 30% damage mitigation to both him and the guy he jumps to. So I don't know. For me, I agree. There's no reason to pick this character. Just F tier. The only time I've seen it worked in ranked is when they play like flank Penny Parker, just kind of like the Jeff, where they just go behind and they set up mines so they have like self healing, and they're just a nuisance. Like I've seen it on Burn It T'Challa, the map with like the waterfall.
Yeah.
I've seen our Penny like flank behind, take their jump pad, set up mines up there, and just sit on their height and shoot down. And it's kind of been like a backline nuisance and play around those 2 health packs that are in that area. So I guess like it can kind of work if you're doing it like the flank Jeff style, being a little nuisance. But also if their team just walks at you or walks at your core, who are a man down because you're not there, then they'll probably just win. So it
Right.
kind of counters uncoordinated teams, and then if they're coordinated in the slightest, it's just the worst character in the game. So I think F tier is a solid placement for her.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that too, I think in Convergence and Spider Islands, uh or is it Spider Islands or Tokyo 9? Whichever one it is. I think it's
They're
like
both Tokyo 2099.
yeah.
Shin Shibuya is the Convergence, and Spider Islands is the Convoy strictly.
Okay, so Shin Shibuya. There we go. um Penny, I have seen Penny like create a flank angle on attack and just kind of like mine up the entire like inside, I guess. And so it's like your healers can't really play in there unless your DPS come in and sort
Yeah,
of
like
clear
if
it
you
out.
TP or walk
Yeah.
around right side and make a huge flank and set up shop and arcade and
Yeah.
make it yours, it's like you could be a little bit of a nuisance, or they could mark you out and kill you before you even get there. Because, like you said, she's got Groot level hitbox with no stability in her kit. She doesn't have any walls, no shield, no nothing. She just stands there and takes it.
Yeah, 100%. I used to think every time I had a penny, I just auto lost. I was like, oh, this is an L. Go next. Psylocke. Um, Psylocke's an interesting one. I think Psylocke. Okay, so Psylocke is good at forcing healer ults. She's also, if you play her correctly, she's good at getting her ult up fast. Potentially even quicker than healer ults. I've seen that a couple times, but maybe that's just the healers playing bad, aka myself. And B, she is actually pretty good at like one shotting if you hit the combo. Like she can kill somebody pretty fast if you hit everything. So I think I would put Psylocke under like a solid. I don't want to put her up with Magic because I think Magic's a lot better than her. I put her under like a solid B tier, maybe with like BP a little bit. But I feel like she has like maybe she's better because like she can actually force those support ults a lot better than BP can. I would say. What are your thoughts?
I think she is A,
Okay.
and I think she's as good as Magic, but she just does something different. So if you guys remember how I mentioned Magic isn't really a flanker when it comes to high levels, she's more of a kind of how you play Starlord. If you guys see like these higher level teams where they bubble in the Starlord and he goes for an E play over the top, it's kind of like that. Like you get bubbled in as Magic and you take it like attack from the front. But on these wide maps, like let's just use Hall of Djalia, for example, where a lot of teams will play dive on attack, right? Because you have to cover a large distance. So taking all that space without some attention trade is going to be hard. Magic can't do that as well as Psylocke can. Psylocke can go with their Venom around the right side or around the left side, normally right, but you could take whatever angle you want as the Psylocke and really easily connect with her Venom, where Magic kind of needs a lot of space before she can connect with the Venom. So I think for that reason, she's A tier, and her ult's definitely worse than Magic. Completely agree. It just gets countered by green, right? But if you're playing around your team properly, especially if you're playing with dive, Venom could go in first, force the green out. You could soft hit and then re-engage with your ultimate as the hard hit. So for all those reasons, I think she's just as good as Magic, just for different reasons than
Yeah.
how Magic is A tier.
Yeah, I feel like she's like you can use that as a strat, right? You can say like, hey, I'm gonna go in and force a couple support ults. I'm assuming that's what green is. I'm gonna force like a support ult, and then my strange can kind of come in and do strange things.
Green is Loki shift.
Oh, Loki shift. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So she just forces out Loki shift, then you can kind of come in and do something
Or
else.
like
But
you soft hit with your Venom Psylocke, get the Loki shift out or the green, as I mentioned, and then the next hit within 10 seconds, obviously, because you don't want it to be back up, will force a support ult or force them to stack.
Yeah, I guess like yeah, if you're Psylocke ulting into a Loki left shift, I mean Loki just I mean the enemy team just wins that trade every single time,
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
yeah.
you don't ever
Yeah.
do it unless it's like your team is already hard walking and you actually want to force the greens so that way all damage dealt is like golden damage instead of just hard countered. Like let's say you're walking with your Strange and your Strange is like, I'm ready to bust. I got 100 charge. Like you can ult, it'll be fine. I'll just bust the greens right away. And it's like you can ult when their greens up. But a lot of the time, you'll see teams like mine especially will just dive in, get a soft hit off, maybe Venom ult if it's like close to the round being over to force the green, guaranteed. But the soft hit will normally force green. Like it'll scare the Loki or it'll scare the Luna, or maybe even force an ult with just one of your hits, and then you ult next to get a guaranteed kill.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll put it under A tier then. Um Rocket. Woo! Raccoon. Nobody ever wants to see this character on their team because there's so many bad players that play this character. Um but or so many players that are bad with him, excuse me. Maybe both are true. But I think Rocket is probably like a solid Rocket by himself without team ups, I think is a C tier character. All right, so I'm not talking about like with Punisher or with Bucky. I think Rocket with Punisher and slash or Bucky is an A tier character, and he can also do more than that. Like Alpha, you and I were kind of talking before we started up the video, but the thing about Rocket Amplifier, which is nice, is that you can just create so many one shot opportunities for your teammates, right? Like say for example, Strange, you can just Strange explode on somebody with Rocket Amp, and that's going to one shot a lot of people through healer ults. Um, I don't know what the actual damage numbers are, but it should be any
It's
squishy.
130 on a full charge Strange. So if you ult a healer ult, it will kill through 250, but not 275.
Oh, okay,
So yeah,
okay.
having the damage amplifier for like an Invis ult where she has 275 HP, it will guarantee the kill rather than having to focus fire.
Yeah. So there you go. So like you're able to create like a lot more one shot opportunities. You can do the same thing with Namor as well. Like I said earlier, like Luna does that too, but like you can do that with Namor. Um, your alt is even though it's not like a heavy sort of like support tool for your allies, it's a heavy stim tool that allows your allies to actually hard like win a fight. Like if you throw down your alt and the enemy doesn't have a support alt up, you guys should just win that fight. I mean, if you're all just doing 40% more damage, we've all seen Punisher ult with Rocket ult, right? Like that's gonna kill through healer ults. We've seen it with Namor ult, right? We've seen it through with Strange Bus. So, you know, I think this character with the team ups is A tier. I think his ult's still good. It's better than people give it credit for. Not gonna be as good as like these healer ults for sure, but it's still gonna be up there for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. Without any, it's C tier. With just Punisher or just Bucky, it's B, and then with both, it's A. It
Mm.
is this character is really strong because, like you said, it can kill through healer ults. Most of the time, when you're running it with double ammo, you'll save your ult for Punny, or maybe you'll use it first if you farm it really fast and Punny's only at 50. Kind of like how Moon Knight would do with Groot, if you remember that. Like if the Moon Knight farms his ult and Groot's only at 50%, well, he's just gonna throw his ult out there.
Right, right.
There's no reason for him to just hold on to that for another minute. So yeah, I totally agree. I think this character's really good. My team personally has been loving the character. We played a lot with like Invis and ban out Luna and just mirror the Invis ult if they Invis counter and have the Flarkin amplifier down and just watch our Punisher spray through and like 80% of the time somebody's dying, right? Like
Yeah.
space is being created or we're team wiping. And it isn't all in. It does get countered by Mag ult, but like I said before, you're gonna have a Magneto on both teams in pretty much 99% of team comps. Very rarely is Mag out of the game. So your own Mag can bubble your Punisher, just like your Mag could bubble your Cloak and counter the other enemy Mag ult on your Punisher.
Yeah. And Invis too can shield. So I think it's a little poetic
Yeah,
that
yeah,
like
get the Invis shield.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. I think it's a little poetic that like Invis is right above Rocket. Rocket's running under Invis because, like you said before, having these two characters together, it's actually not a bad team comp. I actually like this team comp too. I've ran this team comp a couple times where I'm just playing Invis and I have one of the Rocket one tricks on my team running Rocket, whatever the case.
One of the 435 players that love that character.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like I don't hate this team comp at all. And one thing I think that is a little, I guess, underappreciated when it comes to Rocket is, yes, he's not going to be like your main healer. I mean, he's still the thing about Rocket is he still might get the most healing in a game, but it's mostly sustained healing, right? You're not like getting the most healing because you're like doing the most healing in a fight. It's like you know, we both come from Smite, so it's like Soul Lane, how Soul Lane just like beating the shit out of each other, getting sustained damage, not because they actually do more damage than mid laners.
Yeah, like they're not doing anything in the real fight, but they're definitely doing a lot during the neutral. Like, oh, I'm gonna heal
Yeah.
this guy for 30 and then 30 and then 30 and just keep it up. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's like Rocky, he's like half a healer, right? So like he's still gonna be able to heal, and he might even get the most healing in a game, but it's not because he's gonna carry the fight with healing, it's gonna be because he's probably living a lot longer and he gets healing throughout the entire arena because he can shoot it out and all that kind of stuff. But the other thing I like about Rocket too, with me as a healer is that because he's so safe, a lot of people usually don't go for Rocket. So Rocket can kind of sit wherever he wants to, and it allows him to heal you as a healer like a lot easier. So like if I'm you know, if I'm like Invis Woman and I'm focusing on like healing my front line, and all of a sudden I'm kind of like getting jumped on a little bit, but not too heavily, like that rocket sustain to me, because my rocket should be healing me at that point, it actually adds up quite a bit, especially like mix that in with my shield, you know, my survivability, it actually adds up quite a bit. So I do really enjoy this comp a lot, for sure.
Yeah. And to add on to that, if you're like a Luna Invis in the back line and you get dove, you actually have to hit skill shots to heal each other.
Yeah.
And with both of them, well, Invis it pierces, but with Luna, it doesn't pierce unless you're clapping, right? So if the Venom's like standing between you two, he might just eat the damage. But Rocket, nope, totally different. He could accidentally heal you just because he's trying to heal his tank and you're standing kind of close and his heal ball's like, well, I guess I got to heal this guy a little bit. So he is definitely really strong in a dive. I think Invis Rocket might be the best healer backline into dive because if you get picked, guess what? You're right back in the fight, and it's going to be very rare that your rocket gets picked first unless you throw as the rocket, in my opinion.
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. I also really like Invis and Cloak into dive because you bubble and shield, and then it's like you guys are just sustaining through everything.
Yeah, you're definitely not done with that one.
Yeah, well, especially with like a Cloak and Dagger and Rocket comp, actually, which is nice. One thing I like about it is that Cloak and Dagger, you know how she increases healing by 15% with her E? So like she throws it on tanks, it's actually like making Rocket's heals actually like a lot better, in my opinion, which is kind of nice. But yeah, Invis Rocket, to go back to our points, yeah, no, definitely. I actually agree with that. I think this is kind of like the best backline healer comp in the game if you're just picking two healers. It's nice. Scarlet Witch. Woo, this one's like pretty controversial.
Where does she go?
I'm gonna put her in C tier, and the reason why is because, in fact, actually, she actually might. I know where you put her.
Don't think about it. Oh God.
I might put her in B tier, and the reason why, here's why.
All right, let me hear it.
No, she's going back to C tier. She also has a one shot ult, and I know it takes like a million years to charge up and all that kind of stuff. What's the line? What's the line that she shouts again? Oh, like something chaos or something
Pure
like that.
chaos.
Yeah, pure chaos. Like in that time, I could go to Starbucks, get a cup of coffee, right, and like come back. She's still shouting it.
Do your homework.
Yeah,
Apply for 35 jobs.
But the thing I do like about her is that she can one shot ult. So like standalone and say if they don't have a mag, I'm gonna be putting out a lot of ifs here. But if they don't have a mag, if they don't have like a strange or something like that, if they don't have any protective character, even if Luna's ulting, she can just like kind of kill everybody with it and kill Luna as well. So I do think there is some like play to that, and I have seen Scarlets get it off actually a couple times in my games. I think Ironman is like way better at doing that, but I think she can kind of be like a sort of like budget Ironman when it comes to that. And I think her base kit is a little bit better than Ironman's. She has some survivability, right, with her double escapes. And also too, I want to say that she's pretty decent actually against dive because she just kind of has, you know, she has like cloak auto where she can like pretty much just like hit scan somebody and just like follow them around, like you don't have to aim. Yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, you kind of already know where I was going with this, but
Yeah.
I think she's terrible. I think she's
Yeah.
F tier. There are a few scenarios that I like her. Not with the Mantis comp that we talked about with triple support, but with Mantis on the team and running her. One team actually ran this against us, where they ran solo tank, Starlord, Adam, Mantis, Loki. So they had two Mantis ults ready to go, and then Wanda with the Magneto. So the Magneto had his sword to take space, and then what they would do is they would Mantis ult, Wanda ult, or Scarlet Witch, as you guys might know her, and she would ka-chow through our team at light speed, going past all shields, and be unkillable because she's in a healer ult. So I guess very niche scenarios. she's a C tier character, but in my opinion, overall, she's F tier.
That is actually not where I thought you were going with that. I thought you were gonna be like, yeah, it was Strange because you just like Wanda outside the Strange port and go right into the Strange port and just kill everybody because they have no idea. That's where I
Yeah,
thought
I
you were
mean,
gonna
you
be
could
going
do
with
that. You could do that too, but that's
that.
more of like, that you need the 3-minute cooldown to be up and
Yeah.
also near an enemy team.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, for sure. No, I can see that, and I actually like. I'm glad that you mentioned the team up because I kind of forgot to mention that too. We did establish that Magneto is one of the, if not the best tank in the game, and so he actually does become like way better in terms of his damage if he does have that team up because he actually has those sword swipes that he can kill people with,
Yeah, what a
which is
lot of
pretty
teams
neat.
do actually is they will, if they're running mag and they're playing on domination, let's say you're going to strange DP, right? Well, what you can do is you can have one of your DPS swap to Wanda. You activate the sword as your strange TPs, and then they swap off Wanda.
Uh,
And guess what? You still have the sword for like 10 seconds. So you just have a lot of pressure off that fight. Some teams will do it on like convoy as well, but it doesn't work as well
yeah,
because people could just kite a little bit. But on Dom, if you're both TPing and you're right in a brawl and one mag has a sword and one mag doesn't, that's a 5% advantage right there with this slice and dice. So
yeah, I can see that
I
on
do like it
conversions.
for that.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually funny that you mentioned that. I did that with Rocket before where like we strange TP in. I pick Rocket to give Punisher the team up and then I come back and I just like swap off into Invis or whatever.
Yeah, you just like throw the ammo through the
Yeah,
portal and heal him
exactly.
through the portal, and like 10 seconds later, all right, I'm back on my real character now.
Yeah. We all still died, but it was a good strat, so yeah.
Hey, man. Yeah, at least you tried.
Exactly, exactly. Spider-Man. I can't look at this character without laughing. I was against a Spider-Man the other day who was just getting like shot out of the air. Like we all spawn. He's like coming over across the map and just instantly dies. Died like that 5 times. I just like every time I see Spider-Man now, that's just in my head. It's just so funny. Um, I think so I think Venom is actually really good right now. We'll get into Venom in a little bit. But with the Venom team up, I think he has a lot of like super heavy kill potential. Without the Venom team up, I think he gets a lot worse. I think overall he's gonna be a pretty average character, so I'd say like B. Um if B is average in this case, which it is. And I think with the Venom team up, he kind of goes up to A. I wouldn't say S, but he definitely goes up to A, maybe like yeah, maybe like behind Magic above Psylocke. What do you think?
Yeah, I think without it, he might be the worst character in the game without the
Really?
Venom team up. Yeah, it's just like that one set because it's a combo, right? So it's pretty much needed to actually one shot somebody, and it's not guaranteed because if they heal like it all through it, or if you miss one of your special combos, then it's not going to deal enough damage. But I do think with it, he is a B tier character. I don't think he's better than Psylocke. I think most teams are still going to pick Psylocke or Magik on the dive, even though Magic's not like 100% a dive character because it's just more consistent neutral. All Spider-Man does is go for that one-shot combo, and then he's done. And then he has to reset and wait for his one-shot combo to come back up. And I believe, let me actually pull it up so I'm not just speaking total numbers, but I don't think the team up button is like a very short cooldown, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
okay, okay. I'll put him under C then, I guess.
Yeah, so it's 30 seconds. 30
30
second cooldown. So like,
seconds? Are you
yeah.
serious?
So like outside of the one, if you miss that and then you're like, all right, well now I'm just swinging around the map. Psylocke can get her dashes back up and have 4 engages for every 1 engage that you have. That could actually be really threatening. He's still kind of like the nuisance character, like
Yeah.
the Ironfist is, and then has the potential to one shot with that combo. So you can kind of think of him as like Widowmaker for when Widowmaker was like okay in Overwatch and not OP, where sometimes teams would pick it to look for a pick and then swap off if it didn't work. So you could maybe do it like, all right, I'm just going to try it for one fight. And if it doesn't work, then like, nah, never mind. I'm not going to do this character anymore. On like a Hall of the Jolly Convergence or something like that, for example.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that long. At that point, you might as well just like die and come back. I've always thought about that with
Yeah, you might as
Rocket.
well reset.
Yeah, dude, I've always thought about that with Rocket. If like we win a team fight on like Dom or whatever, but my res beacon gets used, I'm like, should I just like jump off the map and then just come back because I get a new respawn beacon? Like I thought about that like as a legitimate strat. I've never actually done it. I'm like, this has some potential here for sure. I don't
Dude, what
know.
one team did when we were spawn holding on Spider Islands, like right by that bell tower, and they had a rocket. So he would just throw his res beacon down, throw his ammo, go into spawn. The second the ammo ran out, swap to invis, swap back to rocket, have another ammo. They were just like, we were getting overloaded with bullets, bro. It was kind of crazy, but
Oh,
I might steal that strat.
that's a
It's a
good
lot of
strat.
effort, but hey, you know what? If you're trying to break the spawn hold, do whatever you can, I guess.
I'll do it. You got to win to win. As long it's, as long as you're not cheating, right? If there's weird game mechanics that you can abuse them until they fix
Yeah.
them. And what I mean by that is like the spawn thing, not don't cheat, guys. Come on. Starlord. Okay, okay. Woo, baby. This character, without a doubt, is at least A tier. Might even be S tier, to be honest. I think he's absurdly good right now. I think he can actually, if played correctly, get his ult up really, really fast. I know earlier I talked about Psylocke getting her ult up super quickly. Starlord is kind of like the same thing. In some cases, even like faster than healer ults can come up. And every time he ults, you're essentially forcing a healer ult, right? As long as he's not completely botching his ult and like when Punishers ult before they have LOS on the enemy team and they're just like, oh, let me just back up.
Yeah, let me just like slowly turn around this corner.
Yeah, with my ult. So as long as he's not botching the ult, he will either A, force out a healer ult every single time, unless like it's like Loki left shift, I guess. Or B, he'll get a couple kills. He's very threatening by himself, in my opinion. But yeah, so I think I
Yeah.
would have him under, at the very least, A tier. I'm gonna say A tier, like high A tier, maybe in that like A plus range that you were discussing earlier. But yeah.
I personally think he's like S tier for sure. And
Mhm.
honestly,
That's what it
with
is.
the Adam team up, he becomes like the best DPS in the game. Like with
Really?
that triple support comp, where it's Adam, Mantis, Loki, you're running that with Starlord every single time. It's not like, oh yeah, we might run Hela this game. It's like, no, we are running Starlord because then you bubble him in. He E's on the whole team, gets like 40% ult charge. Then the next round, you bond him in. He E's again, gets another like 40% ult charge, and he has his ult like ready to go. So his win con with Magneto is insane. You just fly over your Magneto's head, make it super easy for him to see you within the Magneto's like 30 FOV that they have because they're focusing on frontline. And like, oh, I'm gonna bubble that guy and spin, spin, spin. You have 300 extra HP, and then you can just roll out and take no damage. So with or without the Adam team up, though, insane character. One of the best DPS in the game. You'll see him pretty much every map you play if there's a good Starlord player.
So are you saying he's the best DPS in the game because of his damage or because of the fact that he can get his ult up super quickly? Like for example, I don't really see him doing more damage than a Hela when it comes to just like your base kit. But you're
It's more
saying
of the win con potential.
okay.
So with Hela, you're taking like off angles and you're looking for picks,
Mhm.
but she doesn't really have like a quote unquote win con. Like a Bucky hook would be a win con, for example, because if you hook
Mhm.
somebody in, turn around and punch them, like they're probably dead, right?
Right, right, right.
Star Lord E is a little bit more niche in like how it is a win con, but the amount of pressure that a Star Lord with a bubble and spinning in your team provides is just insane. And it's only like a 10-second cooldown for both the Magneto and the Star Lord. We talked about why the Spider-Man with the 30-second cooldown feels really bad. Well, imagine if he could use that one-shot combo every 10 seconds. It would feel a lot better. That's basically what Star Lord has. He has that not necessarily one-shot combo, but that I'm spinning in your team, dealing a ton of damage. If I have any follow-up, like if I have a Hela, all they might need to land is one headshot. Or let's just say you get to their entire backline, their healers are going to have to turn to each other. Maybe they stop looking at the tank, and your tank wins the frontline battle, or your tank and your Hela just shoot their Groot or their Magneto as well and hard win that battle. So it's the 10-second win con for me. That's the big one. The ult is really strong. Like you said, it always forces out support ult. It's even better than Hela ult in a lot of situations because
Yeah, yeah.
Hela ult could be shielded off. It could be eaten. If there's an invis ult that's already used, it could just be burned just without even using much. So, and it's definitely better than Namore without the Luna combo. And sometimes it's better than Namore ult even with the Luna combo because Namore ult can still be shielded off. So I think for all those reasons, he's one of the best DPS. All three of those characters, Namor, Hela, Starlord, all have their own purpose. So I'm not going to say which one is better, which one is worse, but they're all insanely strong.
Yeah, and honestly, one thing I actually do really like about Star-Lord as say opposed to Hela, and even like Namor is that I think he has a lot of maneuverability. So he's very like he can do a lot of things by himself. Where I feel like with Hela, she can bird form away, and Namor can obviously go up into his invulnerability thing. But I feel like these two characters are relying more off your healers to sort of like pocket you a little bit more. Whereas like Starlord, I feel like can kind of do his own thing a little bit and like fly over to health packs easier, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like he's a lot
Yeah, I
more
totally
like
agree.
evasive, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has a little bit more self-sustainability than these Hellas Namore. Like, if you're gonna send a Hela on a flank preemptively, instead of doing it mid-fight, you're most likely gonna send a healer with her, unless the plan is to, like, connect somehow and then the healer merges, like, when they connect. But if you're not overloading that angle for the Hela or the Namore, they're probably gonna lose that duel. Because if the enemy team has a Hela and a Invis woman, for example, holding that angle, there's no way for that Hela to break it by herself. She needs
Right.
the Invis to also be with her. But yeah, Star-Lord, he could kind of contest the angle by himself a lot better than some of these characters. He will still need support if it is, for the example, like the Hela and the Invis trying to push him off or hold the angle. But he could also, like you said, use his mobility to fly around them. Like he could just use that path. Like, okay, I'm gonna kind of distract them and then fly around and look for a health pack. So yeah, for that reason, he is better in certain ways than those two characters.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Storm. Woo! Johnny, Storm's an F. Say no, say no. I think Storm, honestly, I kind of feel like Storm's a little overhyped, personally. I still think she is really, really good. But I actually don't think she's as good as these three characters. And for that reason, I'm gonna put her under A tier. But I do think she's like better than Magik. So I think she's like the next up and comer. I just think like I don't know, like whenever I'm playing against the Storm, I feel like it's a lot easier for me to know what she wants to do and counter what she wants to do rather than like playing against some of these other DPS characters. Like it's harder, I feel like, for me to say like counter a Hela or something like that. Now, however, I will say that whenever I have like a Storm on my team, and it's a good Storm, I feel like my chances of winning the game are like a lot higher than if I didn't. So I don't know. It's like a love-hate relationship a little bit with this character. But I'm gonna put it under A tier. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I totally agree. She's not as strong as Namor with the Luna team up, or just Hela in general. And I mean, she's not as strong as Star Lord, but obviously Star Lord is like a separate character and it's kind of separate role for how he's played. But she is really strong still. Definitely a great fallback. If Namor is banned or if Luna's banned, you're picking it over Namor without the Luna team up for sure. And with Hela, it's good because your Hela takes an off angle and your Storm plays within your team. She's got the Pierce, she's got the damage amp. So it is still a really, really strong character. But just comparison syndrome keeps her an A. If it was like individually what she brings to the team, A plus, lower S, but comparison just puts her down to A.
You know, I'm actually thinking about it now. If you had like Mantis and Storm and you're just like say boosting, I don't know, your Hela, for example, uh like her damage, that may be kind of sick. Or like even somebody else maybe that can make more use out of it, like a Namor or something like that. I don't know. That would be kind of
Yes.
like an interesting thing to play with.
Yeah, I
Like
saw a lot of EU teams were running Bucky Storm, and then when the Bucky would like look for a hook or get a hook, they would just damage amp off of it, and that guy's dead, like
yeah.
guaranteed, no matter what character he is. So
Yeah, that would actually be really, I wonder if like Namor could with like a Manta stim and Storm stim as well, like one shot with his ult. Kind of like how you can with like
uh,
Rocket and Luna.
might be able to do the math on this. Hold up, I'll pull it up.
That'd be kind of interesting. Maybe not though. I mean
So
like
12% on the Inspire from Mantis, and then damage amp from Storm. I think it's 14 now.
is it
Is it
14? Oh my goodness. I thought it was going to be like 8% or something like that.
12? 12. It was higher. It was insane.
Oh shit.
Damage boost to allies is 10, so 22%. So it's not as crazy as a amplifier or a Luna damage boost. Like the 40% range is about half if you have the
Okay.
damage boost from the Mantis and from the Storm. But still good though. Still good.
Yeah. I wonder if it's like good enough though to kill people. But yeah.
Probably not in the outer ring. I don't
Okay,
think.
okay.
But maybe
But
we'll
like
see.
but like with Luna, so just so I'm clear, like with Luna and with Rocket, you can kill people in the outer ring with those amps with Namor, right?
Yeah.
Like Namor can kill. Okay, okay, gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Squirrel Girl. Ooh. I'm gonna say B. I think she's actually pretty good at dive. She actually like low key. She might be A, but no, she's B. She's B. I think she's pretty good at dealing with dive. So actually, like whenever they have like an enemy Venom, for example, sometimes I just tell my ally like, "Yo, go Squirrel Girl," and literally just get 2 root cripple traps up, and just like root him and then root him again. And in this entire time, we're just like hitting and killing the Venom. So I think she actually has a lot of play into dive, even into like BP, right? Like you hit BP with your cripple, your root cripple, like he's dead. He should just be dead every single time. Um, so yeah, she definitely has some good play, and she's also really annoying on some maps. I think she is like a little bit more map specific. So like for example, if you're playing a map like a domination map, right? Or like a convoy map that's super narrow and has like tight corners where like the healers like to sit, you can play Squirrel Girl and just like send your autos, those explosive autos around those corners and just keep hitting people and forcing them to sort of like reposition. Maybe they want to, maybe you force them to play up more than they actually want to, or like or you force them to take like different angles, right? So I think she actually does have decent play right now, and for that reason, I think I'm gonna put it under B tier.
Yeah, I think she in the spots where she's good, she's definitely good. The pros to her, like you said, definitely good on those tight maps with angles that you already know the healers are going to play. My first thought goes to Midtown, where you're attacking and you are trying to take the height. You go to the right side and you just spam down that lane because a lot of healers are trying to play like kind of on that boardwalk or tuck themselves into that room so that way they're not just wide swinging out on the height so they don't get one shot by a Hela, right? But if you're a Squirrel Girl, you can just spam right into that doorway and hit something. The con to her, however, is her ult is kind of mediocre, and you
Yeah.
are dealing a lot of damage that is sometimes meaningful and sometimes not. And the problem with that is guess who farms ult pretty quick when you're dealing a lot of meaningless damage? The supports, right? And a lot of the time, Squirrel Girl ult's not going to force a support ult, you know? It's
Yeah.
not like a Starlord ult, it's not a Psylocke ult, it's not a Magik ult, not a Storm ult, none of those crazy ults where it's like, yep, I've ulted. Someone is going to have to do something to counter this or they are dead. Most of the time, it'll get maybe one pick, but the guy was already kind of dead. Normally, it'll just give you some space to work with. It'll push their tanks back, maybe accidentally kill someone during the mid fight if they don't actually kill it. But I think that's my main issue with her as a character is that the miscellaneous poke is how I'll categorize it that she does, where she's not actually going to secure that kill, just farm support ults.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's holding her back. And I don't know there's much you can do with it. That's just the character design itself. But like you said, really good into anti-dive. I love the character into Venom. She was great into Hulk, but Hulk's just kind of fallen off a
Yeah.
lot in the meta, so you don't really see a lot of him. So I think B is a good spot. I would say low B, maybe high C if there's like a C plus kind of in between, but I think it's a good spot where you have it right now.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Uh, Punisher without the team up. No, no. Punisher without the team up, probably like I still think he's actually pretty decent, but I'd say he's probably like a C tier character. And then with the team up, I think Punisher just goes into A tier. Um, I think this character, well, like, because the thing about the team up is like you're not just giving him infinite ammo, but then you're making his ult just so much more impactful too because you have the fucking amplifier or whatever, however you say it. I can't say it as well as you do, or as well as Rocket does. But in any case, yeah. So he's just gonna be like a lot better from both those angles, from both his base kit because of the infinite ammo, higher fire rate, and from his ult too because he gets to team it up with Rocket, and also too the Rocket team up also affects his ult, right? Like, doesn't it just make it shoot faster? Or no?
I'm not 100% sure about faster, but it is just
Okay.
40% more damage. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
100% sure if it like shoots
yeah.
faster, so
Okay, okay. But in any case, yeah, he still gets the ult team up. So in my opinion, he's gonna be A tier for those reasons.
yeah, I totally agree. Without it, I think he's like a low B tier character.
Mm.
He was a little bit better without it when Hulk was being played a lot because it is really good into Hulk because you just shotgun spam him and he dies in like 4 shots. But yeah, with the team up is pretty much the only time you'll see him played nowadays, and it is strong. It is a really strong comp. Ideally, you want to also have the Bucky with it because Bucky is also
Right.
really good, and the double ammo just makes your like swings insane. My favorite map for this character is Yggdrasil Path because there's portal tech you can do where you place a portal behind them at the beginning of the round on attack and spray through the portal with a turret and apply infinite pressure, getting you around that first corner. And you can do that pretty much for the rest of the map. Not necessarily the portal tech, but just set up turrets on a high ground, spam down the lane, spam down the doorways. When you pop your ult with your rocket, you're like killing through support ults. The only real counter is like an invis ult, but a lot of the time you can still just kind of guess where they are or have your tanks jump in and ping the guy for you and like, oh hey, he's right here. Shoot this
Yeah.
lane. So he is really strong. The infinite ammo takes a lot of space. Counterable character for sure, But for ranked especially, it's gonna be great. And honestly, in my opinion, this goes out to the DPS players. If you have a rocket one trick on your team and you can play this character, please just pick him because it will make your team comp as a whole just way more harmonious and work together rather than trying to force like Storm or something like that.
Yeah, no, I hard agree. Dude, when you brought up the shotgun tech, I'll probably have this video out later on, but I went against a Punisher the other day who all he did was he would zipline boost himself in and start shotgunning the back line. Like he
Yeah,
starts shotgunning
there was a
us.
guy that did that, like Sniper
Yeah.
Master 2013.
I,
It was Cody from like Valorant.
oh, I think it's like the same guy then, because I was like, "Is this Punisher just shotgunning us? Like, what's going? Like, we won." And one dude on my team was like, "Yeah, I just played against this guy like 2 or 3 games, like the last 2 or 3 games in a row, and he was just doing the same thing every single game."
Yeah,
I
no,
was,
there was a guy that was doing that in high rank too, and he got banned because of it because he's literally
wait,
just
what?
throwing the game. Yeah, everyone would just report it because he zip lines, shotguns, dies, and then respawns from his rocket, and then does the same thing, and then die. He had like I had him once, and I think he had 35 deaths in my game on like
Oh
a
my.
non-overtime match. But he also had like 38 kills, so like he was getting his ones. You know, he was getting his entry frag, I guess, as they would say.
Yeah. Damn. That is so funny, bro. Oh man, I gotta go back and like just rewatch. That was so funny.
So here's
Um,
the thing.
yeah. Here's the thing. There you go. Thing I think is a I don't want to put him under S tier. He's definitely a really really good tank. I feel like he's kind of like an A tier tank to be honest, because I feel like he is a little comp specific. Like I don't think he's that good of a tank just from like a solo tank perspective. Like I feel like with the solo tank you could still probably play Mag. Um, or you could definitely still play Mag or like Strange, but I don't think you can really do that with the Thing. But I will say I think he's really good. I think he does a lot of damage. He's also very tanky, especially with the Invis team up. So like we talked about Invis being, well, she in my heart she's the best healer, and in your heart she's like
She's
right there
definitely
with Luda.
she's yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
they're all close. Those 3
yeah.
characters are like basically hugging each other when it comes to how good they are.
Yeah, so like if you think about like where say Invis is at, right? Being an S tier character, being one of the best healers in the game, her team up with the Thing just makes him that much better because if you think that she's gonna be picked just about every single game, then that allows you to pick the Thing almost every single game as well because he is getting an extra ability that gives him, I guess, health over time and also a shield, and then he's also getting passively, I think it's passively, but more damage mitigation, right? Wh-
From the team up, so you actually activate it, and it's a 20-second cooldown,
okay.
5 duration. It generates 5 bonus health per every 0.1 second. So you get 50 health every second, and for 5 seconds. So you get 250 health in total, and the over health is 100. So typically you want to pop this and then either jump to one of your teammates that's already engaged, like a Starlord or Psylocke, and then charge or charge in as you're popping it. So while you're taking a lot of damage, you're not wasting that extra health. Because if you just stand there, you'll lose out on 150 HP. But
Yeah. But like sorry, is the mitigation coming from that ability as well, or is
no,
it is
no,
that
the
so that's a
mitigation is just the
passive?
E.
Just
That's
the
just his E. So when you E to
well,
someone, like when you give them a thrust, it gives them and yourself 30% damage mitigation.
yeah, but doesn't he also gets more damage mitigation because of the Sue team up, right? Because like
I don't
Sue
think
gives
so.
like damage mitigation because she was given the same thing to Reed though too. Like she gives like extra damage mitigation to like everybody in the Fantastic Four. I'm pretty sure.
It might
Um,
be the case, but as I'm on the website right now reading it. It doesn't say. It says the words granting damage resistance once activated, but
well, so
I don't know the percentage on
go
it.
to Inviswoman. Are you on her right now, or are you on the
Yeah,
thing?
I can look at Invis too.
Yeah, go to her and then go to like her passive or whatever, and it should say it there. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't say the numbers at all.
Channeling. Yeah, it also says granting damage resistance, but for her it just says team up bonus, 15% healing boost.
Yeah, but isn't
I'm
like
not
give you
even
a number.
sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no number about damage resistance. It must be.
Time to hop
It
into
doesn't
practice.
feel like yeah. Time to calculate some numbers. It's probably only like 5% for a passive like that because I
Yeah,
can't imagine it being anything extreme. But
but I mean,
I
it is
guess
something extra, right?
some kind of damage resistance is of a mysterious percentage.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we should Loki hop in after this and calculate that. But in any case, though, where would you rate him? Would you say he's
I
S
think
tier, A
top of
tier?
A. No, I think top of A is
Okay.
perfect. He's definitely better than Strange. A lot of the time you'll only see him, in my opinion, from what I've seen, with Magneto or with Strange. You
Mm.
don't really see him with Venom because he's not great at solo holding space, and he doesn't really dive well with the Venom. And I haven't really seen him with Groot a lot. I think Groot does better with the Magneto, with the Strange. A shield tank to kind of hold in front of him when he needs to cycle his cooldowns. Because both Groot and Thing have cooldowns they need to cycle, right? So they're not just in all the time or holding the space all the time. Like Magneto can just stand there. That's why he's so good. He just stands there and he can bubble somebody in. And then when he has to kite, he can really easily retake the space. Thing and Groot, they have cooldowns that they need to have up before they can actually take the space. You know, you have to have probably 2 to 3 walls up before Groot's going to start walking forward to take the neutral space. And then when the walls break, he's not going to continue going forward. And same thing with Thing. You're not going to charge forward, then E in, and then, oh, where's my guy at? You know, come back, please. So with those shields, he's really good. And then with the Groot, he's a little bit worse, but he's still a very solid tank. Basically just plays the same way that Hulk does. Little bit more tight knit with the core. You're not going to see him take like an off angle as much as Hulk would, but still really good at contesting those angles when someone's already on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. All right. So I'm glad we agree on that. What about Thor? Thor, I think I would have under. I want to say like he's a solid B tier character. He's kind of like your tank assassin, right? Like he's gonna go in there, do a lot of damage, but he's not gonna be a main tank. You mentioned this. He's more of like an off tank. Um, I think like overall, I just don't see like where he's gonna be better than like any of these tanks here. It depends on the comp for sure, right? Like if you want a more aggressive comp, if you're running a more dive oriented comp, I think Thor would be fine. But like overall, yeah, I'd say he's probably just like B for me overall. I think in terms of
Yeah.
like actual performance.
I think I can totally agree with the B. It's just like with the Groot getting buffed and he feels a lot better now, the Thing being released, the Mag getting kind of a shift in how he's played and just being needed in every comp now, Thor just finds a tough time fitting in. There was a comp for a little while where people would run triple Asgard, where it was Hela, Loki, Thor,
Mm.
and that can still work pretty well. You run it with like a Magneto as your other tank, and when you're taking a neutral fight, your Thor can do the actual play he's meant to do, which is grief the back line and play for his Thor force, which is his F, and try and hard kill. And if the Hela focus fires and he dies, then he'll get revived. So with that comp, he's pretty good. I wouldn't recommend running Thor without the Hela for sure. And ideally, you run it with a Magneto. It's not great with a Groot. It's not great with a Thing. It's kind of okay with a Strange, but being able to mag bubble the Thor in if he goes for one of those aggressive plays or mag bubble him out when he's getting low is kind of the only way he can be played.
Yeah.
If like 3 of those characters get banned, though, Thor does become one of the better tanks in the game. But just by comparison, with that logic, he is pretty mediocre. So I think top of B is a solid spot for him.
Yeah, I feel like that's always the thing when I'm making tier lists. I'm like, well, by comparison, by comparison, by comparison. Because I mean, it really like you do have to compare, right? So I feel like once
Yeah.
you like kind of have established your sort of like S characters or like S and A tier characters, it's like then all these other characters fall like you understand why they're falling into place down here or like in a lower tier, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, it's just like by comparison, they're just not as good. You could just say that end
Right.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, by comparison, he sucks.
Yeah,
Not what you can
compared to
do.
this guy,
S,
yeah.
He's S tier character. If 4 tanks are banned, go ahead, pick him up.
Yeah, there you go. Venom. Woo! Oh, there we go. Wait, where'd he go? Here we go. Venom, I think, is probably an A tier character. So I don't think he's actually. I mean, I feel like he's a little bit different than the Thing. He's a little bit more. I think the Thing requires more presence of his allies, right, to help bail him out, so he can like jump to them. Venom can obviously do that himself. He doesn't need allies. He's way more of like a solo tank. I think I would put Venom under A tier. I think he does a lot of. He's really annoying in the dive right now. I think he's very impactful. I still don't like having a Venom on my team as much as I like having like these guys. And I even like having a Thing on my team more, but that's just because I play Invisiwoman, so I like to team up. But yeah, I'd say Venom under A tier. I think he is overall very good right now. He has a lot of kill pressure, he has a lot of survivability, and he's very, very, very annoying. But beyond that, I think it's like there's a lot of comps where it's like Venom just really doesn't fit well into.
Yeah, I agree. If you're running solo tank, you're not running Venom
Right.
because it just you lose the front line. Like he's in the front lines, but he's not going to ever help your front line move forward. So your team just gets stuck. But with an actual coordinated team, if you got 6 players that know each other, you're in a ranked environment. Venom is really good. I think top of A is great for him. And the reason he's not higher is mainly because of maps. Like some maps, it is just really difficult to play Venom the way you want to play Venom. My first thought goes to Royal Palace. I can't remember the exact map name, but it has a coast and there's not a lot of high grounds. It's not Throne Room and it's not the one with the high ground circle that everybody hates where there's those 2 jump pads that people just bounce on.
Mhm.
It's the very third map. There's not a lot of spots you can like climb up or swing from. So on certain maps, he just doesn't feel as great. But on maps where he feels okay or good, he's definitely one of the top tanks in the game. And you'll see him a lot with Magneto. If Magneto's out, it's a little bit weirder to pick the character. He's like okay with Strange, and he's pretty okay with Groot. Not good with Thing. I wouldn't run that tank line in my opinion. And then obviously the characters in B he sucks with because they're all off tanks. But the main reason Mag is good with Venom is because of connecting. So your core and your dive ideally want to connect on the same targets and Magneto has a rock that he can shoot from like I want to say 15 meters away that does guaranteed damage, right? So why are the other tanks not as good at connecting with Venom? It's because they don't have that connectivity or potential damage they could deal. Strange is a shotgun, right? So he's not going to be able to do it. His main damage comes from his E. Thing is literally just punching. So in order to connect, he would have to jump, which would leave his back line vulnerable. And then Groot is like probably the second best with it because he can almost reach as far as Mag, but it's just harder to hit those characters when they're as far off as compared to Mag, where he can still do like 30 damage. Even if he misses the exact target, he could still hit somewhere nearby.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, we're getting down to our last 2 characters. We're getting down to our last 2. Bucky, probably one of the
The
most
two
broken
displacement characters.
Yeah, facts, right? Yeah, absolutely. Bucky, probably one of the most broken characters in the game. This character is going under S tier. This character is going under quadruple S tier. He's literally out of the tier list at this point. Now he's just so good right now, especially with Rocket. Right, I feel like Punisher uses infinite ammo better than Bucky, but Bucky still uses it very, very well. And then of course Bucky, just being able to pull in people and then just like knock them back, and then his ult just being so empowering. Like whenever Bucky ults my ally, I instinctively just invis woman ult so I can cancel it because I don't want him getting that reset. I know, well, like if he gets the reset, it's just gonna be so much trouble for us, right? And so I'm like, all right, like if he gets a reset on this person, like we're probably gonna lose this fight. Like 90% of the time, you're
Yeah.
losing the fight if you hear
Yeah, if he
again.
gets one reset, it's over. If there's a
Yeah.
Loki on the enemy team, it's already over before the fight started.
Yeah, so I'm just like, you know what, let me just go ahead and that's one reason why I hate Loki, by the way, if Bucky's in the game. But on my team. But yeah, so with that, like I usually like Invis Woman ult. So I just think like Bucky, he could just do, I think you mentioned this earlier, he could do so much by himself. He doesn't really need other people. Like even he can even like technically heal himself, right? Like he doesn't physically heal himself, but he gets over shielding or he gets shielding, right? Off using abilities. So he can just do so much by himself. He's just an S tier for me. Like best DPS in the game for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily know if he's like where he stands compared to Namor, Hela, Starlord, because they all
Mhm.
just do so well in different environments. You know, like I would say against a Loki, he definitely competes for the number 1 slot. And then against teams where they're running like, let's say, Luna Invis, he falls down definitely below the Hela and probably below the Namor. So it does depend a little bit on the team comps, but he is so solid. These 4 DPS, Hela, Namor, Bucky, Starlord, if you're not able to play them to a high level, you definitely should get them under lock and key right away. Bucky is great. He's great practice because he just sits with the team. You're looking for hook. There's a lot of skill shots. Not super complicated kit, so he's pretty easy to learn. But there's also a lot of ceiling with that kit. You know, like, oh, do I want to use my uppercut to dodge something this fight, or can I use it to turn and push this guy when I hook him in? There's a lot of thought in pretty simplicity, which is fun for me. I think someone explained it that was an Overwatch coach. To like, it's such a simple kit, but the things you can do with it is so diverse that it makes it fun. And that's just really good design when you
It
can
is.
make it easy to understand, but a lot of things you can do with it. So one thing that he's also really good with is Groot combo. strange combo. You know, a lot of teams, if you guys watched MRI at EU at all, they'd run Bucky every game, mainly because like a lot of other characters were getting banned as well. But every game he was in, and they would Groot Bucky combo all the time. Groot ult, he would immediately slam down on it, and you can kill through every support ult with his headshots. Like he could just go blap blap, send a little fist punch through, and then blap again. And as long as the Groot has tried the bare minimum to put up a wall and maybe a right click onto those players, they are going to die through. And he just like pentakills the team, sextuple kill. So he is an extremely strong character, and you will see him either banned or picked in almost every game.
Yeah, and there's this one guy too, in my ranking the other day. He was like, "Man, why can't I get Bucky? I haven't been able to get him in 8 games." I'm just like, "Gee, I wonder why." It's not like he's one of the most broken DPSs in the game right now. And pairing with a Rocket Punisher, like that team comp is just so hard to play against, especially as a tank player too. Like you're playing
Yeah.
against Bucky, Rocket Punisher. I mean, like, how do you even tank against that? You just get melted every single
Yeah,
time.
you
Infinite's
have to
up.
kite. You have to kite the ammo. You have to kite the hook. That's another thing that makes him really good is he has a built-in win con, which we mentioned earlier with the Starlord E Magneto bubble
Right,
combo.
right.
That's a win con because it's like you're taking a lot of attention slash doing a lot of damage, whereas these Namore and Hela characters are more looking for an actual kill. He has a real win con. Like him walking forward looking for a hook is gonna make the enemy team respect it. If they don't, they're gonna die. If the
Right.
tank doesn't shield it properly, or his shield breaks because he didn't manage his shield properly in the pre-fight, he's dead. Or you're taking a million meters of space. Like there are only two options for that. So that is another reason that puts him really high on the tier list is that win con that's just built in directly to his kit. Doesn't even need a bag bubble for it.
Yeah, man. Displacement characters in games like this are just so insane. I mean, like even thinking back to Smite, dude, like someone like Sobek, right? Sobek was like the win con for ranked. If you ever just want to climb in support because you just
Yeah,
like
it's
pluck
like you
somebody
pluck
backwards.
somebody and you win the fight. Like that's all you gotta do.
Yeah,
And
because
if
you
you
just like
miss, well,
displace
guess what?
them.
Just wait for the next one. You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the like, but Bucky pulls like a group pull, or not a group, Sylvanas pull, right? Like, you just like pull somebody, and it's the same thing. Or like, Overwatch players would think about like Roadhog. It was Roadhog, right? I barely played
Yeah.
Overwatch, I played a little bit. Yeah, so like Roadhog would like pull somebody, and it's like the same exact thing. It's like crazy. Like displacement characters in games are just absurdly strong. Like I don't unless they like hard nerf. I don't even know why his hook's AOE. To be honest with you, it doesn't even look AOE. But like unless they like hard nerf him, like I feel like he's just always gonna be a character that's gonna stay relevant in the meta because of
Yeah,
his
he's
hook.
always going to be at least B, and
Yeah,
then at the
exactly.
top of the times he's going to be like S tier because he just
Right.
has such an insane kit. I mean, his ult CC immune too. So like, oh, Strange is ulting, he's going to hit me. Like, oh, I'll just press my ult button real quick and float in the air for a second, and then attack. So that's another major thing with his ult.
I didn't even know the CC mean. Like you just made me even more angry saying that.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
you just fully immune to stuns in that ultimate.
I'm just mad now. I'm just a mad person. All right. Last but not least, Wolverine. This character has been plaguing tanks such as yourself for the longest. Um, I guess his win con in this case would just be his ability to grab somebody and bring him to his team and
Yep,
kill him.
exactly.
I would put Wolverine under definitely under A tier at least. Might even be an S tier character, but yeah, I mean he's just really good. He does get I'm not gonna say countered, but like for example, you could pick the thing against him and not ever have to worry about a Wolverine. Your Magneto could kind of like bubble you, so there are like sort of counters to Wolverine's playstyle. Um, and I guess like because of that, and I don't think he's like I know he does something different than these DPS, but I've no, I'm not even going to compare. I'm not even going to compare. I'll just look like an idiot. I'll just say he's under A mostly because I feel like his win con can kind of get countered by some of the tanks right now. Some of like the good
Yeah,
tanks.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. I mean, you can kind of compare him to like a Bucky in the win con sense, where his win con is worse. And why is it worse? Because it's full committal, right? It's very
Yeah.
easy to see that it's been used. It's not always guaranteed that you're going to kill the guy. I know a lot of tank players die to it, self included. But the problem with his kit is his neutral is pretty bad. Like Bucky has a gun,
Oops.
Hela has a gun. All those characters have guns, right? So he doesn't have guns. All he has is his win con. That's it. So if you, as a tank player, just respect his win con, like, okay, I recognize that every 15 seconds he could insta kill me if I grief, right? So you just got to give that space. And then you got to know, like, well, when he misses or when he's pushed out by us doing damage, then you can reclaim that space. And you can actually reclaim it harder than if a Bucky was to miss his hook or a Starlord doesn't do his E combo as much as he can. Like these other win cons are more consistent, but then his win con can definitely just insta kill somebody. So depending on the level of lobby and how many resources you're going to put into him, he becomes a worse or better character. And like you said, the counters as well. I think personally, he's either low A or high B because you as like in a competitive environment can just switch to counter him. Like
Yeah.
you play Mag Thing, his character is useless. You play Thing solo tank, his character is useless. You won't really play that as much in competitive, but like in ranked, you'll see that a lot where somebody's solo tanking and like, well, I'm just gonna play Magneto and utilize the space that I can create between me and him and still deal damage to him, right? Now he does counter Groot pretty well and Strange. I think I mentioned either at the beginning or pretty early before that like I've been grabbed by a wolf as Groot and still lived pretty easy because I trust my team, right? Like
Right.
I got Loki greened and then Invis booped him and he did no damage to me. So there are a lot of counters to his kit, which is why he falls down a little bit compared to his other DPS, but he's still really strong and really good, especially on like Yggdrasil Path or something, where for the first point, you could just be Wolverine, right? And it's not like the team can go back into base and reset. Like you could capture the whole point and be Wolverine. And if they counter swap you, then you switch off. So I think that's a real important thing if you're a DPS player wanting to play Wolverine is if they counter swap you, just swap. You know, maybe go Punisher, tell your support to go Rocket if they go Thing Mag and play for ammo combo. Like ammo shreds the Thing because he doesn't have a shield. He's just standing there. So something like just making sure you're swapping a lot, and that goes for a lot of the characters in the game, but
Yeah.
specifically him because he has a lot of counters.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's been like a top banned since as long as I can remember. I mean, he's
Yeah,
been banned every single I don't want to say every single season because we're only in season 1, but ever since season 0, the OG season, and now season 1, he's still just getting banned like all the time.
yeah, I think he still has like a 45% ban. Like in ranked, he's OP because teams are like uncoordinated and not really synergized. I think up until like the very top does it become like easy to deal with. And then in competitive, that's when he kind of dips down. So if you're wanting to play him in ranked and just whip him out, he's still gonna do really good. Not as good as those upper four, but definitely as good as like a Storm could do or a Magic for sure.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I think he is actually he does have some play too into healer ults, especially in say like Invisible ult, because earlier we talked about it being a static ult, so it can't move. And if he has his ult up, he can actually pick a whole bunch of people up and ult them out of the Invisible ult and make
Yeah,
really, really
even the
big
Invis
plays.
herself could cancel it. So yeah, it
Yeah,
is really good into those. I mean, mainly just Invis ult because you can't do it to Luna ult, or
right.
you kind of can take somebody out of it if they're squishy. But if it's a tank, most of the time the tank is gonna like
Live,
get
yeah.
walked to and then live it. So I do like it into the Invis a lot, but it
Yeah.
also gets countered by the Invis. So it's like a
Oh, yeah,
two
'cause
sides
of
of the
pull.
coins because it's a pull. Yeah. But a
Yeah.
lot of teams will play it with Mag, and if you give it a lot of resources, like bubbling him in, then he can't get pulled. So you can definitely give him the resources to make him a better character. But on his own, he's low A tier, I would say.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool about this game, you know, I feel like a lot of these characters are, like, they're decent by themselves, but, like, they're even better if they get empowered by other, like, characters in their team, whether it's, like, a team up or whether it's just, like, you're shielding the characters, whatever the case, like, they just become way, way better, if they get those, team ups, those allies.
Yeah, I mean that's why a tier list is so hard because you could say the same thing for like 80% of characters. You know, Namore floats between S tier and never played if he doesn't have a
Yeah.
Luna. Rocket is like, get him off my team to, well, we have double ammo. He looks pretty good here. You know, Loki's like, well, if we have an Atom on our team, I'm not really going to play Loki. But if you have any other support where you can copy, he's like one of the best supports in the game. So there's so many characters like that where one little change in either their team or your team takes them from sometimes one of the best characters in the game to I'm not going to play this character. Like Wolverine, for example, we're just mentioning it. If they swap Thing Mag, you don't really want to play him anymore. But if they're on Strange Groot, you're like, man, I'm loving this game. I'm loving life right now.
That's true, that's true. Well, this is gonna be the tier list. We were gonna do a, top 3, I think, per each role, but, this video is getting really long, I think, at this point, and, yeah, this is actually a lot longer than I thought it would be, in a good way. It's in a good way for sure, like, we explained a lot. I feel like this is definitely one of the better, if not probably the best tier list out because, like, we actually explain pretty in depth why we put each character where. But I would say too, like just from judging from this, right? Like you could just say, oh, top 3 supports are these 3 because they're an S tier. Top 3 or 4 DPS are these 3 or 4 because they're an S tier. You know, top 2 tanks are these 2 because they're an S tier. So you could probably make that judgment for yourself. But I will say, just like kind of just for fun a little bit, uh, who do you think would be the best overall character in the game? I know it's like not something that you want to answer because there's so many like different situations, different characters, and all that kind of stuff. But like, if you were to just kind of like pick one character that you think, in general, just you think probably has like the best all around kit for this current season, who would it be?
So I'll do two. I'll do two
Okay.
things. So we'll do
Okay.
one for each role, and then I'll do the best after like picking those.
Okay. That's
So I
fair.
think I think Magneto is definitely the best tank, most diverse character. You could play him solo tank. That's one thing you can't do with Groot. You can't really play him solo tank. He counters a lot of ults like the Starlord, the Hela, the Bucky. Even if you like catch him when he lands, stop him from shooting. So he's definitely number one tank. My number one DPS might be controversial. I'm going with Starlord.
Okay.
I think Starlord has the most diversity in his kit. You kind of know what a Hela's going to do. Like we said before, Namore needs the Luna, so him by himself isn't great. And then Bucky is good. Bucky is great. But he does have a win con that's pretty easy to deal with. Starlord is so annoying. He can mark angles. He can use the Magneto bubble combo. He can just do it by himself, honestly. Then with the triple support comp, he's also the only DPS you really want to play with that. And if he gets banned out, it honestly kind of counters that comp because he's the main reason why that comp is so annoying, at least in my opinion. And yeah, so for all those reasons, I think he's my number one DPS. And then for support, I think you already know my answer, but it is gonna
Yeah.
have to be Luna with Invis right there. Like it's the closest argument out of the bunch for me. I think Mag definitely stands alone on a pedestal. I think Star-Lord is like 2 to 3% better just because of the different scenarios and areas that he covers. He can mark the angle, he could take the angle, he could dive. He has a good win con. I think Luna and Invis are right there, and so is Loki. Like all three of them, you could argue individually, but I'm just gonna have to go with Luna because of the mobility in her ultimate. You could use it as tempo. You could use it as countering an ultimate and then tempoing. So there's just too much there versus the static ult of Invis, which we talked about earlier, where it's a little bit less diverse in how you can use it. You can still kind of tempo, but it's a lot harder.
Right. Right.
And then for number one, let's see.
Drum
I'm
roll,
trying to think of like
please.
I'm thinking of how I want to like do the logic. If you're a standalone character with no assistance, I think it goes to Magneto. I think you pretty much just want a Magneto all the time.
Yeah.
And like with all these other roles, I think we talked about how like those 4 DPS are very interchangeable if they have all that they need, and the 3 healers are very close. So I think Magneto's probably number one. If you give the proper resources to Starlord, however, with that triple res comp and a Magneto bubble, I think he takes it over.
That's
So it's between those two.
That's so interesting. I actually thought that you were gonna say Starlord from the get go. With like how much you were like asking up earlier in terms of being a standalone character. I thought you were gonna say Starlord, but that is interesting that you went for the mag. Is that like the tank bias? Is that because you're a tank main
It
Alphy?
might be tank, but
Yeah.
I think it's mainly the comparability test. Like
Yeah.
Magneto compared to every other tank is probably 5% better,
Mhm.
whereas Starlord is maybe like 2.5, and then the supports are all within like a percentile of each other of really close and sometimes game dependent. But you just like need the mag. Like
Yeah.
you have to have mags. I think for that reason alone, he has to just be the best character in the game.
Well, I'm so glad that like you just say a lot of stuff that I say all the time too, or I try to say to my rank teammates like, "Can we get a mag, please? Can we get a mag?" Like the amount of times I've asked that question, I you don't even want to ask, or you don't even want to know. But
Yeah, like you're tired of ulting the Starlord. Oh, can we just get a rock to throw at this guy?
yeah, please, man, please give me a bubble. You could also tell like a big difference between good mag players and bad ones. Like good ones that actually know how to bubble changes the game so much. Like if you're getting dove and you're just getting mag bubbled and they can't kill you as like a healer, and you're able to like, heal everybody because you're still alive because you're mag bubbled. I mean, mind's fucking blown, bro.
Yeah, he's basically
Just
the Bucky
bubble.
of the tank lineup, where his kit's pretty basic on a like looks
Yeah.
level. It's not very hard to understand, but the way you use his shield and the way you use his bubble will dictate a lot. And it's very similar to like every rank of player. And there's just one little thing that the better mag player does that'll like differentiate him from someone that's even like 2 or 3 ranks below him. It's very crazy, like how little you have to change to just become like a great mag player.
I also think kind of like hitting. I've tried to play him a little bit. I think hitting his ult's a little. I think it can be like kind of hard to learn. I think there's a learning curve to using his ult,
Oh
especially
yeah.
like into like a Punisher who can like insta-splode it. Like you can instantly kill a Punisher with it pretty much, but like he can also insta-splode it. So you have to time that like very, very fast, you
Yeah,
know?
it's definitely a mind game because some
Yeah.
Punishers will just insta burn it or call
Yeah.
their team to burn it. Same thing with Starlord. Like I've had Starlords try and burn through mine rather than like hold their ult. And honestly, that works better most of the time because I'll try and like aim it at him to like threaten him to make him roll or something. But then they'll like call my bluff and spam the raw, like spam it right away and then
Uh,
still roll it. Like, okay, goat, I see you. So
uh,
yeah, that is probably the hardest part of his kit to get perfect. But a lot of the time, you're just using that ult as like a pseudo defensive ultimate, like you're another support kind of like, oh, I'm gonna counter the Starlord ult this fight, or I'm gonna counter their Bucky when he lands. So that way, you don't have to use a support ult to counter those things. Very rarely am I like, huh, they have nothing for me to ult. Like if they're running Psylocke Storm, I'm like, well, I can't counter either of those ults, so I guess I can just use it to tempo ult.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the tier list, guys. I hope everybody enjoyed. This was definitely a longer video than I thought it would be, but in a good way. Like I said earlier, I think we explained really well, especially you, Alfie. I mean, you did perfect explanations, I feel like, for each character. So I think we explained really, really well on, you know, why we put each character in each tier. And if you're gonna take anything from this video, it's don't play Peny or Torch. That is the one thing I would say to take away from this. And stick to the I also think too, like, we have a lot of characters in S tier, for rightfully so, but I feel like another thing to take away from this is that you should be able to get an S tier character every single game. Like, regardless of like this character being banned, that character being banned, like you should be able to get an S tier character every single game pretty much. So but yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Alfie, do you have anything else you'd like to add before we end this, or are you good?
I just wanted to mention that those characters are so bad in F tier that we could both agree. I sent him like a little mock thing so it'd be easier to work on this, and there were definitely a lot more characters in F tier, but I could see the argument for them going up, and I can agree with it. But those two are so bad that they stayed there. So that's all I wanted to add
Yeah.
is how bad. Mainly Peny. Let's just say mainly Peny. There's a world that I'm completely wrong about Torch, so I won't
Yeah.
speak too crazy about her about him.
Yeah, we gotta go Windex on here next too. Like have us three
Yeah,
just talk.
just
Oh
completely
man.
prove us wrong.
Yeah, 100%.